From a family of fishermen and farmers to the true immortal of water and virtue, this video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 351, Aoking breaks through. Guaqua. Guaqua. On the embankment of the fish pond, loud frog calls resounded in all directions. With indescribable joy, the sound waves spread, rippling tiny ripples in the water. Li Quanqing was also sitting cross-legged here, with a mountain of gifts piled up next to him, just like several small hills, occupying the land on the bank of the fish pond, and the treasure light was rich and dazzling. These were all gifts given to him by those small forces and sects on his 100th birthday, including those carefully prepared by Gengjin Sword, and the value was not low. Although the overall value was not high, even less than a yuan Yingling Bao, fortunately there were enough varieties, and some of the remote treasures were even he had never seen. Faced with such a large amount of treasures, the happiest one was naturally the Bao Guangchen guy, whose abdomen kept bulging, and his mouth made continuous calls. In its eyes, those colorful treasures intertwined, just like the most delicious food in the world, making people salivate, and almost fainted with happiness. So many treasures are given to you to devour. If you fail to break through the golden elixir in the end, I will send you to the kitchen, and make you a pot of spiritual food to nourish your body. Li Quanqing spoke threateningly, his spiritual consciousness escaping like a spider web, constantly checking these treasures that were offered. Every time he checked one, he would throw one to the golden spiritual toad, allowing it to absorb the treasure energy to practice, gather the body of all treasures, and condense the demon elixir. It can be seen that the treasure light toad is full of jewels, and the light is dazzling, especially the copper coin lumps on its back, which are so vivid that they make a crisp sound like gold coins colliding. Alas, they are really a bunch of poor bastards. It took a day for Li Quanqing to count all the tributes. He couldn't help shaking his head. Most of them had to be sent to the family treasury for consumption. There were only a few treasures that really caught his eye, which could be left for the spiritual beasts to nourish their bodies and improve their cultivation. The sun sets, and the moon rises, and the night falls. The sky is full of stars, and the water vapor in the air is also filled with a hint of coolness. Looking at the golden toad immersed in the ocean of precious energy, Li Quanqing retracted his gaze, stretched his muscles slightly, and made a crackling sound. If his guess was right, it would not be long before the treasure toad would be able to break through the 3rd level and become a powerful, waste demon king under his command. He really didn't have much hope for the fighting ability of this toad. It was a real scumbag, so he could just keep it as a pet. Moo. The moonlight was as cool as water, and a trace of silver light diffused, turning into the purest Taiyan spiritual energy. The bright moon was reflected on the water surface, shining with each other. As usual in the past few decades, countless green jade carps emerged from the fish pond. They opened their mouths to swallow the moonlight, worshipped the moon and practiced, and their blue scales reflected the glow, sparkling like a piece of land in the water. Aoking emerged from the depths of the fish pond, his body winding, his scales and armor eerie, and the Taiyan spiritual flags around him waved out, rustling. Below its body, there were more than a dozen green-horned fish dragons, welcoming the moonlight to come, like a silver-white beam of light rising into the sky, illuminating the entire fish pond as bright as day. Li Quanqing looked at this scene. Although he was already familiar with it, and had seen it countless times, he still couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Now he is over 100 years old, and Aoking has also lived for nearly 90 years, so long, but he has never neglected his own practice. Since embarking on the path of dragon transformation, Aoking has practiced so hard every night, regardless of wind and rain, and his perseverance is moving. Even at this time, Li Quanqing used the golden finger to check Aoking's obsession in his heart, and it was still the 4 big words, "I want to turn into a dragon," not forgetting his original intention. This is the real demon clan Xianjiao, with great perseverance, destined to leave a name in history, and become the future generation of true spirit demon emperor. In comparison, Li Quanqing seems much more ordinary, and can only be said to be an ordinary hanger. Trash. Li Quanqing retracted his gaze, pondered for a moment and took out a 5-colored spiritual umbrella from the Hanhei bowl. It was the spiritual treasure for overcoming the tribulation, the 5 Thunder Mirror Umbrella. Just like the previous key refining and foundation building realms, after breaking through the late Gengjin, there is no bottleneck in the practice process after this great realm. He only needs to follow the steps, swallow the essence of heaven and earth day and night, and practice hard, and he will naturally reach the Gengjin Great Perfection realm, and there is no further progress. This time is uncertain. It may take 10, 20, 30 or even 40 years, and each Gengjin cultivator is different. At this level of cultivation, Li Quanqing naturally began to consider how to break the Dan and become an infant and truly step into the ranks of the top cultivators in the world. As for how to break the shackles of this broken world and become a god after breaking through the Yuanying, that is not something that can be considered now. Li Quanqing stroked the mirror umbrella, and the mana in his hand was poured into it. It suddenly kept growing and finally turned into the size of a normal oil paper umbrella. On the umbrella, thunder patterns bloomed, flowing with colorful rays of light, engraved with the ancient Dao runes between heaven and earth, and fully expounded the true meaning of the Thunder Road. Li Quanqing held his hands in the air, and the Cheyenne magic power intertwined, leaving his own mark, and stained with his breath and blood. After all, this is a Yuanying spiritual treasure. It is not easy to activate it completely. Every time after the cultivation breakthrough, the brand rune must be strengthened. After decades of sacrifice and refining, it can be used as if it is activating its own life magic weapon and successfully survive the Yuanying Thunder Tribulation. The consumption of Yuanying spiritual treasure is extremely large. Fortunately, Li Quanqing's Cheyenne magic power is known for its vastness and boundlessness, and the recovery speed is extremely fast, almost boundless. I don't know how long it has been. The entire surface of the mirror umbrella is full of spiritual light, emitting bursts of sonorous thunder sounds, and the degree of refining has finally deepened a layer, and the spirit of the instrument has a satisfied mood of being full. Li Quanqing exhaled the turbid air, opened his eyes with satisfaction, and his face also showed a sense of fatigue. He formed a seal with his hands, and in an instant, the 5 Thunder Mirror umbrella gently rotated and turned into a 5-colored stream of light, which was swallowed into his stomach and covered above the golden elixir to protect it. Have I only practiced for a few hours? Li Quanqing slightly raised his head and looked at the bright moonlight still shining above his head and was stunned for a moment. But he quickly reacted. It was already daytime, with a red sun hanging high in the sky, but the moon was still shining above his head, filled with cool spiritual energy. This is. Just as Li Quanqing was slightly stunned, Aoking suddenly let out a loud dragon roar, and the green demon cloud swept across the entire Yulangton, blocking the sunlight above his head. Countless essences roared in, drops of water in the pond leaped, and the rich water essence was extracted from it. Along with the roar of the spirit veins, it was swallowed into the stomach of the green jade dragon. Obviously, it was trying to break through and rush towards the realm of the middle stage of the golden elixir. The blue dragon scales on its body opened and closed, and the demonic energy that was like substance gushed out from it. Aoking was circling and entwining, evolving a vision of a bright moon rising from the sea. Even the bright day above was obscured by the demonic cloud, and the light was dim. It almost turned into a bright blue moon, with surging demonic energy, attracting all the green jade carps in the fish pond to boil, spitting out water arrows from their mouths, and roaring with excitement. The same was true for the green-horned fish dragons in the foundation building realm, circling above the water, not daring to be presumptuous, trying their best to gather the essence in the water, to make up for Aoking's consumption. Is this the king of the monster beast clan? Li Quanqing looked thoughtful. Aoking's breakthrough lasted for 10 days, and finally with a rumble, the demonic energy rose like a cloud column, completely breaking through the bottleneck. Harvester King Gaihu Kyanglang in the middle stage of the Golden Core, and reward Cheyenne Daogu Cultivator with a copy of the nascent soul nodes for breakthrough. Right square bracket. Chapter 352. Experience of forming a baby. Nascent soul nodes. Li Quanqing's spiritual consciousness permeated, and he gently touched the white light ball that appeared between Aoking's dragon horns, and was surprised. He didn't expect that Aoking's breakthrough would actually give such a reward, telling how the ancient Cheyenne Dao monks broke through the nascent soul. King Qiu let out a dragon roar, swallowed the essence of the sky, and the scales on his body burst into flawless moonlight, as if he had turned into a round of Taiyin, shining brightly. After the breakthrough, Ao King's momentum was undoubtedly much stronger, and the demonic energy was surging, turning into a rolling dark cloud, which made it look fierce. When it had vented the joy in its heart, it swam around, and poked its head out of the clouds, eager for the owner's daily touch. So good, it's really my favorite cub. Li Quanqing was very satisfied, stretched out his palm, stroked Ao King's round dragon horns, and the cool dragon scales, and took the light ball into his pocket. He was not just stroking, but also a wisp of Cheyenne mana blooming at his fingertips, which was so refined and pure that it helped the spirit beasts to cleanse their bones and even improve their affinity with water spirit. Seeing Ao King squinting his eyes comfortably and making a comfortable humming sound in his throat, Li Quanqing, the tool man, also felt a great sense of accomplishment. After practicing the Cheyenne Sutra, as his cultivation became higher and higher, he was simply a water-attributed treasure that many creatures dreamed of. Anyone who saw him wanted to eat a few bites. After Ao King was completely satisfied, Li Quanqing withdrew his palm and watched it go deep into the fish pond and began to show off with his own fish roe and grandchildren. The blood of the Jianalang clan is highly contagious, and a drop of dragon blood can create many blood demon clans. The blood of King Qiu is of a very high level. Staying in the fish pond day and night, the demonic aura it exudes can enable more King carp to embark on the path of blood evolution. In this way, the best will be selected from generation to generation, and the fittest will survive. Perhaps after thousands of years, this fish pond will be full of third-level dragons. Li Quanqing retracted his gaze, crushed the light ball in his hand, and began to investigate this harvest. Speaking of the monk's notes, he originally thought it would be some kind of jade slips, or at least ancient books or scrolls. But when the light faded, what came into view was a yellowish white animal bone, which was polished into the shape of a bone book, which looked very primitive. What era is this ancient Cheyenne Dao monk from? Li Quanqing was a little confused. These bone books were covered with traces of time, but fortunately the words and patterns engraved on them were still clear and easy to recognize. He didn't care at first. After all, he had witnessed Zhao Qian's tribulation with his own eyes, and he could tell 1, 2, 3, and 4. But when Li Quanqing finished reading part of the notes, his expression suddenly changed, and he became very serious, and he didn't dare to underestimate it anymore. Although these white animal bones have a long history, they record all kinds of nascent soul secrets, and even many personal experiences of dealing with thunder tribulations and inner demons. They are easy to understand and very detailed. Moreover, this handbook records the cultivation experience of 5 Cheyenne Dao nascent soul true lords, not just one great cultivator. It can be said to be very comprehensive. It completely fills in the blank of Li Quanqing in this regard, and he reads eagerly. It's like a dry sponge, swimming freely in the ocean of knowledge. After a long time, he just finished reading the first animal bone. The whole person is like experiencing a baptism of the great Dao, and it is refreshing. Countless wonderful ideas emerge in his mind. I really picked up a treasure. Li Quanqing couldn't help but curl up his mouth. He hadn't been so happy for a long time, and his mind was completely immersed in it. Since he embarked on the road of cultivation, he rarely received guidance from other cultivators. He relied on his own hard work and took one step at a time. Especially after he established his foundation and even formed the golden elixir, there was no one in the entire King Li family who could guide him anymore, and he could only practice by himself. Now that he had obtained this nascent soul notebook, it was like meeting a great cultivator who knew everything and taught him how to practice. Moreover, since they were all inherited from the Cheyenne Dao, many of the cultivation experiences and secret techniques recorded in the notes were very much in line with his appetite. In the following time, Li Quanqing was always immersed in it, as if he was discussing Taoism and practicing with these ancient nascent soul predecessors. If he had to rely on various treasures before to exchange for the chance of breaking through the nascent soul realm, now he has completely transformed himself and fully comprehended the process of breaking the elixir and becoming an infant. Only by knowing how to take the next step can he walk faster and more steadily on the nascent soul avenue. Of course, the holy infant pill should be used when it is needed. It is his own ability to be able to cheat. Only a fool would abandon it. 3 months later. Reincarnation Pearl. On this day, Li Quanqing adjusted his state and sat cross-legged on the dam again. The fish pond in front of him was surging with waves and water vapor. After studying and comprehending for a period of time, he has completely memorized the contents recorded in the Yuanying notes. At least in the short term, there will be no new insights. He can only wait until the years pass and he breaks through the state of great perfection, and then he can review the old and learn new things again. Li Quanqing flipped his palm lightly and took out a green and yellow bead from the Qianquan bracelet. The black and white color flowed in the center, and there was a breath of reincarnation. This is the immortal predecessor of Shai and Ao, who combined the two inherited golden elixirs of Behuanquan into one, and extracted a ray of reincarnation. It can help him to reincarnate for 100 generations, polish a flawless Taoist heart, not fear the illusion of the inner demon, and exercise his spirit. Li Quanqing has never tried it. Now that his cultivation and magic power cannot be improved in a short time, he can only rely on polishing day and night. It is time to start the reincarnation trial. Reincarnation true water, let me see your true power. Li Quanqing held the bead with both hands, and the magic power surged and poured in. The next moment, the black and white lights suddenly became blazing, accompanied by the sound of the surging blue sea and the endless yellow springs, completely pulling his soul into the reincarnation illusion. The last person on the Huangxin stage woke up, and the score was D, which is unqualified. It's a pity that you have middle grade spiritual root and a poor character. After all, you have no chance to be with my Gengjin sect and go down the mountain by yourself. When Li Quanqing opened his eyes again, he suddenly found himself on a stone platform, ancient and cold, with deep lines engraved on it. Beside him, there were nearly 100 young children, standing or sitting, with different expressions. A psychedelic mist slowly dissipated from him, with the intention of bewitching people, interweaving into an illusion, which was real and fake. Young man, why are you still standing there? Don't you understand what I say? Go down the mountain by yourself, and be a casual cultivator. An old man with white hair and beard stood in front of him, with a fairy-like appearance and a little regret on his face, but in an instant it turned into indifference. The following people whose names are read out have passed the assessment, and can stay in our sect as outer disciples, and continue to practice. A senior sect deacon flew up into the air and spoke loudly, announcing the future of these immortal seedlings. As his words fell, dozens of names were manifested by magic power, shining brightly in all directions. The young children who passed the selection were naturally ecstatic, and they could stay in the Gengjin sect to practice. The losers were naturally desperate. Until all the places were announced, he still didn't hear his name. Li Quanqing finally came back to his senses, and the confusion on his face completely disappeared, turning into a self-deprecating smile. So what I just experienced, 100 years of cultivation, was just a dream? He staggered to his feet, lost his soul, and walked down the mountain. Chapter 353, Reincarnation. What a pity, the Gengjin sect, who is so blind, actually missed our two peerless geniuses. Li Quanqing was walking down the mountain, his steps staggering, still recalling the scene on the Huangxin stage just now. Beside him, a skinny boy with a dark complexion like a dog was chattering away, his face full of regret. Li Quanqing did not say anything, but when he passed by a misty lake, he stopped and looked at the reflection on the water. What came into view was a boy wearing a coarse linen shirt, who was a little stunted, and looked about 14 or 15 years old, with an ordinary appearance. Why, Quanqing, are you hungry? I still have the buns that the immortal gave me before. Now that we have money, we can't drink water to fill our stomachs like beggars before. Although the thin and black boy next to him was long-winded, he was quite honest, and took out 2 white and tender meat buns from his bag. Wow, you are still far-sighted. I have already eaten all those buns. Subconsciously, Li Quanqing blurted out the name of the thin and dark boy, and his words were very skillful. He grabbed the meat bun in his hand. Although it had already cooled down, the soft touch and the faint smell of meat made everything seem so real. I've said it before, now you have to call me Li Zonghao. We will become immortal sooner or later, and we will definitely be great figures who will be crowned kings and marquesses in the future. Liu Hao continued to chatter, pulling his friends and walking towards the foot of the mountain. There were boys and girls who failed the trial around him. Li Quanqing did not resist. His stomach acid was surging, and his stomach was rumbling with hunger. He bit the bun hard into his mouth. The cold meat bun tasted a little greasy, but the delicious juice mixed with the aroma of wheat bloomed in his mouth. It was so delicious that he wanted to bite his tongue off. Li Quanqing ate the bun in 2 or 3 bites and felt that he had never eaten such a wonderful thing before, and his whole body was warm. He also recalled his origins thoroughly. His name is Li Quanqing, a time traveler who can be found everywhere on the street, and he is 15 years old this year. His parents, who had been farmers for generations, died in the war, and he followed the refugees into the capital and became a beggar. He met this good friend next to him, and together they made a living in the refugee slum, fighting for food with the stray dogs in the alley. Because the golden finger had not been awakened, just when Li Quanqing thought that this was how his life would be, suddenly an immortal descended on the capital, and all children of the right age could go to test their spirits. Fortunately, both of them were found to have spiritual roots, and he was even born with a middle grade spiritual root, so he was sent to this giant sect for trial. It is difficult to enter the sect now, and I have to consider my future path. Maybe it would be nice to be a casual cultivator and enjoy wealth and honor in the secular dynasty in the future. Li Quanqing was thinking about his origins. Hao took out another bun and asked, "The meat bun is delicious, right? You must not be full. Do you want another one?" "I'm full, but I want another one. I want to save it for Aoking. That guy is the greediest." Li Quanqing was distracted and thought about it. He almost subconsciously spoke up and said an unexpected name. "Aoking, who is that? Is it a new friend you met in the trial?" Li Quanqing looked at his friend's dark eyes and saw a hint of anger and questioning. Even the fragrant meat bun was put away by the other party. His eyes were confused, and the memories in his mind surged and became blurred again. He muttered to himself, "Aoking, it seems to be a dragon I raised, or the legendary giant and demon king. Ha 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 ha. Quanqing, you haven't woken up yet, and you are still immersed in the false illusion. The legendary giant and demon can crush us to death with a breath. How can it be your pet?" Liu Hao laughed so hard that he leaned forward and backward, and tears were about to flow out of his laughter. He made several faces at him. "You, don't laugh." Li Quanqing also felt a little embarrassed. His cheeks were a little hot, red like a tomato. They chased and played, and ran directly down the mountain, full of the youthful vigor. Li Quanqing looked back for the last time. The sacred mountain of Gengjin sect was shrouded in fog, with only a bluestone mountain road looming, and the towering mountain gate building was also hidden in the formation. Several cranes flapped their wings and flew, making clear and pleasant course, leaping up from the clouds, just like these young people with different destinies, with an uncertain future. Unexpectedly, the foot of the mountain was not deserted. Instead, many cultivators had gathered, all from various small families, and it was quite lively. Immortal seedlings. The immortal seedlings are coming down. My fellow immortal seedlings, I'm from the key refining immortal clan, the Huangqizang family, and I'm proficient in the art of alchemy. I'm in urgent need of several spiritual plant husbands to look after the medicinal fields. The salary is generous. I wonder if anyone is available. Although these immortal seedlings did not pass the sect assessment, they still have spiritual roots, which is very attractive to some small forces. They can consider marrying into the family to expand their strength. Quanqing, should we join a certain family? Although there is a high probability that we will still be tenants in the world of immortal cultivation, it is better than being a casual cultivator to make a living. Or should we try those foundation building sects again? With your medium grade spiritual roots, there must be a lot of hope, but the journey is a bit far. Liu Hao opened his eyes wide and looked at these small families who came from all over the world, and his face also showed some desire. Family. It seems that I'm from a certainly family immortal clan, and I have become their ancestor. Li Quanqing fell into confusion again, and the memories in his mind surged, almost breaking through some restrictions and ready to come out. Two young friends, are you willing to come to my Bibozao family? My clan controls the Bailey Bee Bowl Lake, with endless waters, and fishing boats singing in the evening, but it is most suitable to be a family fisherman. If you are sincere, you can even marry a girl from my clan. She is fair-skinned, beautiful, well-educated and well-mannered, and a good son-in-law. A middle-aged man with a kind face came forward. His words were quite sincere, and the conditions he threw out were also very tempting. Hearing the 4 words family fisherman, Li Quanqing finally seemed to trigger the key words, and his lost memories were finally broken and returned, pouring out like a torrent. He closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, all the confusion on his face was swept away, leaving only the depth of the sea. How? Li Quanqing called his friend's name softly. What's wrong, Quanqing? Li Hao turned his head curiously, asking the middle-aged man carefully, looking quite moved. Thank you, the meat buns are delicious. If there is a chance, I will treat you to big buns stuffed with dragon meat. Li Quanqing's eyes were clearer than ever before. Without waiting for his friend to answer, he pointed a finger down, and his magic power was overwhelming. Suddenly, the world was turbulent. It was as if time and space were still, and the confusion and astonishment on Li Hao's face rose. Everyone at the foot of the mountain was completely solidified. Then, with a click, the space was broken, and the illusion was lifted. Li Quanqing blinked, as if waking up from a dream, but the expected illusion did not lift, but came to a more dangerous scene. Hehe. You are worthy of being the shy and Aozi who appears once in 1,000 years. The illusion of the heart demon, that I carefully woven can't shake you a bit. Li Quanqing looked at the yuanying thunder tribulation, that had not yet dissipated above his head. The power of heaven was magnificent, and the voices of the devil came to his ears. The dreamy mist scattered and disturbed his mind. Get out! He roared, but he did not sink this time. He saw through the illusion completely, and his will was as firm as iron. The sound waves shook the world. Even the terrible heavenly tribulation was turned into dust. With a click, the illusion in front of him shattered again, revealing spider web-like cracks, and the extraterritorial demon was torn apart in an unwilling wail. When Li Quanqing woke up again, he was shocked to find that he had returned to the modern era, wearing a surgical gown, forced to lie on the operating table, and tied with restraints all over his body. Not good. The patient woke up during the operation, and the anesthesiologist increased the dosage. Looking around the operating table, a group of doctors were holding blades, bleeding, and anxious, preparing to cut open his flesh and blood. Li Quanqing directly slashed out a sword energy that reached the sky. Murderous. Want to dig out my golden elixir? Die for me. With a bang, the illusion shattered again, as if it would never end. Chapter 354, Golden Toad Forms Bill. On the embankment of the fish pond, Li Quanqing sat cross-legged with his eyes closed. The reincarnation bead in front of him glowed, turning into a black and white light curtain that enveloped him with a psychedelic glow. His expression kept changing, sometimes excited, sometimes angry, and sometimes frowning. It was obvious that he was experiencing reincarnation for 100 generations and sharpening his heart. Moo. Aoking hovered. The dragon body was winding, guarding the shore, blocking the 4 directions with demonic energy to prevent outsiders from disturbing the master's practice. Until a certain moment, the magic power injected into the reincarnation bead was suddenly consumed. The smooth and round bead flashed lightly, and the light slowly dissipated. Li Quanqing's originally frowned eyebrows also slowly calmed down, and finally turned into a calm again. After dozens of breaths, Li Quanqing finally broke away from the illusion completely, truly got rid of the endless illusions, and exhaled a breath of turbid air. He opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with a deep color, which then slowly faded away, and turned into a calmness that saw through everything. It's finally over. Li Quanqing looked at the reincarnation bead in his hand, and was silent for a moment, and finally relaxed. It must be said that when he fell into the endless reincarnation illusion, it was really torture. Even if he completely woke up from the initial confusion, he would still feel extremely tired in the face of the overwhelming illusion. King Iron Sect, Huangsante, Li Hao. Li Quanqing stroked the bead in his hand, and recalled the first illusion. It still felt very real, as if it was vivid, as if he had really experienced every plant and tree in that world of immortal cultivation. but if you study it carefully and think deeply, you can get many doubts. For example, the capital city, where he and Erha were born, no matter how you think about it, you can't think of the specific name, including the begging experience, which feels particularly vague. The true meaning of reincarnation is really terrible. Li Quanqing carefully put away the reincarnation bead, still feeling lingering fear. When he faces the enemy in the future, perhaps he can use the horror of the reincarnation illusion to suddenly pull the enemy into it and catch them by surprise. After dozens of reincarnations, to the outside world, only 2 hours have passed. Li Quanqing moved his body, watching the blue moon Qiu slowly sink into the water, and calculated with his fingers to get the specific time. Although the time consumed was short, the benefits he gained were very amazing. After this illusion, not only did his soul become much stronger, his heart of Taoism became more firm, and even his soul became more solid and stronger. Li Quanqing looked inward at his body, and looked at the Daodan in his abdomen. The color was clear and deep, like a perfect fusion of the vast ocean and the abyss of the sea. In the deepest part of the Cheyenne Golden Dan, the second ray of infant Qi slowly emerged, like a dream, but it contained extremely powerful power. The only thing that gave Li Quanqing a headache was that, although this power was powerful, he did not know how to use it, so he could only watch. Gugua. Gugua. Just when Li Quanqing was about to relax his mind and feed the fish for health, a loud frog croak suddenly resounded through the void, just like the roar of thunder, shaking the fields and echoing in the entire fish pond. Is this the Baoguan toad is about to break through? Li Quanqing raised his eyebrows and immediately revealed a little joy, looking over with a slightly surprised look. The golden Baoguan toad squatted on the water, its abdomen kept swelling, and it made bursts of deafening frog croaks, shaking the world. The essence of the surrounding heaven and earth gathered and turned into strands, all drilling into the copper coin lump on the back of the golden toad, and was completely refined by it. It can be seen that in the body of the Baoguan toad, a round demon pillars constantly taking shape. The surface of the bead is shining with precious light, dazzling, as if you can see many treasures entwined, illuminating most of the flesh and blood body. Since it is a demon beast that breaks through the third level and condenses the golden pill, it naturally has to experience the thunder of heavenly tribulation, temper itself, and be tested by heaven and earth. Although the Baoguan toad is a different kind of demon beast, it is no exception. Ink-colored clouds surged from all directions, lightning flashed, and the might of heaven was everywhere. Gugua. Baoguan toad looked at the calamity clouds gathering above its head, and was equally fearless. It stared with its two big gem-like eyes, as if it was unyielding, and wanted to roar at the might of heaven. Li Quanqing's eyes were a little strange, for no other reason than that the calamity clouds of this big toad were too weak. The calamity of the giant and lightning of Aoking and Long Yandiro, all of them covered hundreds of miles in radius, demonstrating the true might of heaven and earth. But looking at the calamity clouds above the Baoguan toad, they only barely covered the entire fish pond, and then they stopped moving, and no longer spread. Boom. Even though the thunder was raging, it still looked weak. Finally, the dark clouds rolled, and a calamity light as thick as a branch fell, blooming like branch-shaped lightning, splitting the triumphant Baoguan toad, and making it scream. Li Quanqing looked a little speechless, watching the Baoguan toad jumping around in the thunder tribulation, rolling on the ground, and screaming louder and louder, full of energy. Finally, 9 thunder tribulations fell in succession, and a strong demonic aura flourished in the arc of electricity. The Baoguan toad stood in a ruin, all black, and black smoke was spreading from its mouth. It shook its body, shedding a layer of charcoal-like skin, revealing a body that was increasingly shining with golden light, as if it was made of pure gold, and the precious light was dazzling. On the forehead of the Baoguan toad, a white ball of light shone out, swaying with clear light. Harvest a Baoguan toad in the early stage of Jiandan, and reward the nascent soul secret technique Baoguan Jinjiashu. Baoguan Jinjiashu, nascent soul level secret technique, which can absorb the 4th level spiritual treasure light, exert the power of the nascent soul, condense the treasure armor, protect the fragile nascent soul of the cultivator, and exert incredible power. Li Quanqing touched it with his spiritual consciousness, and words suddenly appeared in front of him, revealing all the mysteries. The secret technique of the nascent soul. Li Quanqing touched the ball of light. He had heard that this secret technique was powerful and could be called the killer of the nascent soul cultivator. He crushed the ball of light. Unexpectedly, this inheritance was directly poured into the sea of consciousness rather than the inheritance jade slip. Li Quanqing's sea of consciousness was surging, and the Taiyan Jian was suspended in the air, shining brightly. He began to sort out this extremely huge amount of knowledge and comprehend the treasure light golden armor technique. After spending most of the day, he finally succeeded in mastering this secret technique and gained new insights. It requires the power of the nascent soul to perform it. Li Quanqing frowned slightly, and suddenly an idea came to his mind, thinking of the 2 strands of infant ki bred in the Great Dao Jinden. He tried to use a strand of infant ki to perform the secret technique, but he didn't expect it to be successful. The strand of air in the Jinden moved with his thoughts, and it was no longer a dead water, ignoring it. As for the first 4th level spiritual treasure, I will choose the demon dragon spear and absorb the magic power in it for cultivation. Without much hesitation, Li Quanqing made his own decision and chose the most powerful nascent soul spiritual treasure at present. Chapter 355, The Battle of Taiyan. The pitch black dragon circled, its diamond-shaped scales rotating endlessly, making sharp cries, baring its teeth and claws, vivid and lifelike. Li Quanqing looked at the demon dragon halberd spirit, which could be said to be his most powerful spiritual treasure at present, and even integrated a scale of a divine dragon, making it indestructible. The precious light condenses into shape, and the golden armor protects the infant. Li Quanqing formed seals with both hands, constantly changing the seal formula, and performed this ancient and powerful Yuanying secret technique. He opened his multi-treasure spiritual pupils and immediately saw the surface of the demon dragon halberd. A trace of precious light was extracted and turned into the shape of a roaring dragon and drilled into the danshan along the meridians. At the same time, deep in Li Quanqing's golden elixir, the wisp of infant energy was ready to move, and suddenly wandered, as if to break through the shackles of the golden elixir and break out of the shell. But unfortunately, Li Quanqing has not yet broken the elixir into an infant. Being able to mobilize this wisp of Yuanying energy can already glimpse the mystery of the precious light golden armor technique. Finally, the surface of Cheyenne Jinden was slightly rippled, and the precious light merged with the infant key, and finally turned into a golden copper coin shape, inlaid with black patterns, and the pattern was like a demon dragon. It's done. Li Quanqing's eyebrows were happy, looking at this copper coin-shaped treasure armor, wandering around the whole Jinden, surging with powerful power. Swish! Exclamation mark. The next moment, he used the power of the Jinden to activate it, and suddenly the gold coin treasure armor hummed softly, and those dark patterns seemed to come alive, emitting a sharp halberd light. In terms of power alone, it has about 30% of the combat power of the demon dragon halberd, which is extraordinary. Now, his Jinden also has the power to protect itself, and it may be able to play an unexpected effect when facing the enemy. After trying the power, Li Quanqing was very satisfied, so he looked at the second ray of infant ki. After condensing into the precious light golden armor, these Yuanying ki were not consumed, but still existed in the Jinden, but they could play a part of the power contained. His original plan was to borrow the power of the remaining body of Cheyenne Jinden, but when he extracted the treasure light, he encountered huge resistance. In the end, he had no choice but to choose the void scissors. After all, it was an extremely rare spatial force. After the secret technique was performed, a brand new gold coin-shaped treasure armor condensed, but the pattern on the surface turned silver white, forming a sharp contrast with the first one. The two treasure armors wandered on the surface of the golden elixir, as if the yin and yang Teikai rotated, releasing a powerful aura. Li Quanqing tried to use the power of the void, but he didn't expect that with a flash of the gold coin, his Dao Jinden actually shuttled directly through the void and appeared outside his body. Space jump. He was stunned for a moment, and then he was filled with infinite joy. He didn't expect to awaken this life-saving magical power. If he encounters a strong enemy in the future, even if he exerts his full strength, he still can't defeat it, and he can still have a trump card to escape. Even if he abandons this body, relying only on the remaining golden elixir, taking over the body and rebirth, plus his own golden finger, there is still a possibility of rising again. Of course, this can be said to be Li Quanqing's worst plan, which is almost impossible to happen. Gugua. The Baoguan toad croaked loudly, successfully pulling back Li Quanqing's attraction. He looked at the golden toad and couldn't help but touch it. This time, he finally opened a very valuable treasure, which deserves praise. The following days were still a plain and leisurely time for cultivation. Li Quanqing meditated for 2 hours every day and used the rest of the time to feed the fish, refine spiritual treasures, and practice secret techniques. He lived a very fulfilling life. But what he didn't expect was that such a leisurely day didn't last long before it was disturbed by outsiders. On this day, Li Jingui suddenly arrived and brought a news that made him frown. He didn't even feel like feeding the fish. You mean, the Sita family and the Zioyaoan family had a conflict and wanted to take back the ownership of the Taoan Islands? Li Quanqing sighed softly. He didn't expect that such a thing would actually happen. It was really a headache. Li Jingui was also helpless. Now the Yun family has greatly increased in strength. Although the Sita family has declined, it has also shown several great foundation building monks. Almost no one is willing to give in to the other. In order to compete for the third level spiritual vein on the Taoan Islands, they have fought many foundation building battles. Unfortunately, they are evenly matched. In the end, the Yun family can only ask us for help and want the Qingyu Li family to arbitrate. Li Quanqing rubbed his eyebrows and said in a deep voice, "What did the old patriarch say?" He said that this is a good opportunity to show the strength and majesty of my Li family, so he decided to let a giant and strongman take action and complete it neatly. Today, the Qingyu Li family has a total of 3 giant and great monks. Even in these years, with the abundant incense and divine power, the old patriarch Li Zhangyao's strength has also broken through the level of giant and gods. Elder Kunli has just condensed his golden elixir and is in seclusion to consolidate his cultivation. Elder Kunlun is also in seclusion trying to break through the late stage of the golden elixir. So this hard job finally fell on me? Li Quanqing sighed softly and finally agreed to go to the Taoan Islands to mediate the conflict. Now that the Li family has greatly increased its strength, it can also appropriately expand its territory and power. It is completely possible to arrange the Sita family as a blade for expanding the territory. Of course, these are the core policy secrets of the family, so there is no need to say too much. In this operation, in order to demonstrate the strength of the Qingyu Li family, all the cultivators in the foundation building realm were dispatched, a total of 7. In addition to Li Quanqing, the Golden Elixir Master, and many third-level monsters in the vast sea bowl, they are enough to deal with the dangers that may arise at any time. But! Exclamation mark. The skyboat hummed and vibrated, carrying everyone up into the sky, cutting through the blue sea water, and heading towards the direction of the Taoan Islands. The Li family cultivators moved quickly. In just over an hour, they saw the Taoan Islands. The seawater here was a deep blue-black color. Patriarch, we've arrived. Li Quanqing opened his eyes from his meditation. He didn't care much. They were just a group of foundation building cultivators. What kind of storm could they cause? He walked onto the deck and looked at the islands below. They had already turned into 2 distinct forces. Nearly 10 foundation building auras rose from the sky. We pay our respects to Senior Gengjin. The Sita family cultivators were very good at observing people's expressions. When they saw the flying boat approaching, they immediately took the lead and flew over. The Yun family was also unwilling to lag behind. They flew over with magic tools, their faces full of respect and flattering smiles. Li Quanqing glanced at these cultivators and suddenly frowned. His expression suddenly became cold. He flipped his palm, and the golden elixir magic power suddenly bloomed, extremely powerful, and turned into a handprint that fell, covering the sky and the sun, and overwhelming the mountains. Bang! Bang bang! In just a moment, bloody flowers bloomed in the void, and all the foundation building monks were killed. Their bodies exploded, and they could not even hold out for a breath. Patriarch? The Li family monks were still in shock when they saw the blood of these monks flowing in the void, unexpectedly condensing and not dispersing, turning into strange patterns interweaving. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a blood river magic array, bloody and surging. Chapter 356 Blood River Demon Cultivator. In the Taoan Islands, the foundation building monks of the Situ and Yun families died in an instant, and they were completely turned into blood, flesh, and bones, and exploded, completely losing all their life breath. What was strange was that the blood condensed and did not disperse, flowing in the void, and turned into a blood river, with array patterns interweaving, and demonic energy surging. At this time, the Li family members also reacted. This was a conspiracy against them. Before they could cast spells to fight back, Li Quanqing waved his sleeves, and immediately put all his foundation building monks into the Hanhei Bowl. For the battle between giant and monks, these guys can't play a big role. Blood River Sect Monk. Li Quanqing looked at the blood river gathering in the sky, and instantly guessed the identity of the other party, who came from this famous demon sect. Hehe. This seat is very curious. How did you know that my blood slave exists? It's really not simple. A sinister laugh echoed, and the blood-colored river surged, turning into a huge face, and a sinister face could be vaguely recognized. The realm of great perfection of the golden elixir. Li Quanqing looked at this person, saw through his cultivation, and remained unmoved. My Li family is attached to the Xingqian sect, which is a major sect of the righteous Yuanying. You, a demon cultivator, are so rampant. Aren't you afraid of being slapped to death by the Yuanying's engine? Hehe. This person's laughter was very rampant. You don't have to scare me. Now this seat has blocked the world with a large formation, and not even a fly can fly out. I haven't introduced myself yet. I'm Yao Chen, the true disciple of the Blood River sect. Situ Luo, you killed him, right? Li Quanqing did not answer, but his spiritual sense swept across the entire blood river inch by inch, trying to find the real body of this person, and give him a fatal blow. He was not surprised that he would be found by the blood river sect cultivator. When he killed Situ Luo, it was not perfect. As long as the matter of the Blue Sea inheritance was not exposed, it would be acceptable. Hehe. Yao Chen looked arrogant, but in fact he was not stupid. Instead, he was very afraid of the guy in front of him. He investigated the cause of Situ Luo's death, and finally found clues from the Situ family. Only then did he follow the clues and find the Kingayusi. Li Quanqing was able to kill Situ Luo and crack his blood escape magic, so he must have a very strong attack power. Crash. The blood river surged, and Yao Chen's figure hid in it and disappeared completely. One after another, whirlpools emerged, and human figures stepped out of them. They were all cultivators from the Yun family and the Situ family. They were covered with blood veins, and even their pupils were blood red, emitting a faint magic light. Even the foundation building cultivator who was killed by Li Quanqing before was also strangely resurrected at this time, and a new body was born from the blood. Obviously, these poor guys were refined into blood slaves, and even their souls were imprisoned, and lost their freedom. What a pity for the Yun family of Zioyao Island. It's really an unprovoked disaster. Li Quanqing sighed slightly in his heart. Although this family may have some members left, several foundation building monks were killed, and they could only decline. But, the big formation hummed, and began to slowly activate. The blood-red mist surged in the air, wantonly devouring all the breath of life, arrogant and overbearing. If Li Quanqing hadn't put the foundation building monks of the Li family into the bowl, it would be difficult to resist this power at this time, and the blood vessels would burst and die. Extremely miserable. This guy is weaker than I thought. Li Quanqing stood in the blood, the surrounding turbid waves rolled, the bones sank, and a pungent smell of blood entered his nose. He didn't change his face. The giant mana flowed on the surface of his skin, which could actually refine the strange mana in the blood river, lock the vitality of the whole body, and be invulnerable to all kinds of methods. This kind of skill that devours the vitality of all things is actually somewhat similar to the Huanquan inheritance. I guess these two sects must have a connection. Li Quanqing also had a guess in his heart at this time. Situ Luo, a giant and cultivator, is from the demon sect, and the competition is fierce. It is definitely not worth the other party's persistence. Perhaps the real reason is that the death of the Huanquan sect's direct disciple aroused the anger of the Huanquan sect, so the Zhu sect will thoroughly investigate the matter. Yao Chen hid in the blood river. Seeing that the third level magic array he carefully arranged did not work, he immediately noticed something strange. His skills seemed to be quite restraining the blood river inheritance of our sect. Yao Chen looked at the aqua blue light that enveloped Li Quanqing's body, and his heart skipped a beat. He knew that he had encountered the remaining inheritance of the Cheyenne Dao. According to the power of this magic array, even ordinary giant and great perfection cultivators would be greatly suppressed, their vitality would be greatly damaged, and their blood would boil and riot. Just when Yao Chen was having a headache, he suddenly saw that the guy in front of him actually took out a green and yellow bead. What is that? Before he could react, he saw the surface of the reincarnation bead, and light bloomed. A stream of reincarnation true meaning flowed, completely pulling him into the illusion of 100 generations. Li Quanqing held up the reincarnation pearl in his hand, watching the blood river flowing around slowly stagnate, and finally completely lost the control of the cultivator, and became chaotic and disordered. It really works. Ordinary cultivators can hardly resist this reincarnation force. It is the world's top magic weapon of Fantasy Island. Li Quanqing took out the Hanhei bowl, and the next moment the ice phoenix puppet flapped its wings, and an extremely cold storm swept out, and the Zuanming true energy surged. The Yuanying demonic energy was rampant, and this blood river magic formation that blocked the world was just like a joke. The surging blood water was frozen, and layers of ice ridges spread. In the end, the entire formation was turned into dust in the Zuanming cold air, and no longer existed. Yao Chen's consciousness fell into an illusion, and his flesh and blood body lost control, naturally exposed, and was easily found. Tick. Li Quanqing stretched out his hand and grasped it, and suddenly a drop of blood flew out, containing terrifying magic power and vitality, and the demonic energy was surging. This is exactly Yao Chen's true body, which has been freed from the constraints of the flesh, and turned into a drop of blood god. It gathers and disperses unpredictably, and has a strong ability to protect its life. But when the soul is lost in the illusion, no matter how powerful the magic is, it is difficult to play a single bit without the control of consciousness. The reincarnation bead is suspended above the blood god, flowing with misty clouds, like a cage, with natural restraint of skills. The surface of the blood god is turbulent, and the soul consciousness in it seems to want to struggle and turn into a sea of blood, but unfortunately it failed in the end, and lost in the reincarnation illusion. Li Quanqing was not at ease, so he took out the ice phoenix puppet, restrained the blood sea magic with the Zuanming true key, and guarded it with the magic dragon halberd spirit. Under the triple blockade, he was completely relieved. You clean up the battlefield, and make sure there will be no problems. As for the dead clansmen, let the Yun family mourn. Looking at the Taoan Islands that have lost all the breath of life, Li Quanqing also felt a little bit reluctant, so he released his family members and told them to be responsible for handling the follow-up. To be on the safe side, he also left behind the dragon flame eagle and the wind thunder python, and only then did he leave with peace of mind and return to the green jade cave heaven. Chapter 357 The Destined One. King Gaiu Cave Heaven. Li Quanqing returned to his own cave and directly opened the formation. Then he sat in the retreat room and took out the drop of blood god sun. Snap. With the help of the power of the ice phoenix puppet, cold air flowed through his fingertips. This was the extremely pure power of Zuanming, which completely froze the drop of bright red blood and made it lose all the ability to move. Zuanming True Water, also one of the 7 true waters, is as famous as the Samsara True Water. It has the terrible power to freeze everything. It is rumored that, if the Zuanming Avenue is cultivated to the deepest level, it can even freeze time. There are not many forces in the world that can compete with it. Seeing that the blood god sun was completely frozen, Li Quanqing was slightly relieved and released the suppression of the Samsara pearl. The black and white light gradually dissipated and retreated. Yao Chen's consciousness returned to his body, but due to the presence of cold air, he did not seem very smart and felt a little sluggish. Even so, Li Quanqing could still feel the fear in his soul. Perhaps he did not expect that he would be defeated so quickly and thoroughly. Li Quanqing used a formation to conceal the appearance of the Samsara pearl, making it possible for the other party to see the truth. Some magic secrets are hard to defend against, and can even transmit the images they see back to the sect before dying, so they must be guarded against. Tell me, why did you set up a large formation specifically targeting my Li family's giant and cultivators? Li Quanqing spoke in a deep voice, with a little coercion, and his eyes were like knives. If Li Quanqing went there this time, he would definitely suffer a heavy blow, or even be in danger of falling. Revenge for Situluo. Anyone who kills my Blood River Holy Sect cultivators will be killed, even if they are far away. Although Yao Chen was frozen, there was still a threat in his words, and he looked fierce, but was actually weak. I have left a soul tablet in the sect. If I die, and my true spirit is destroyed, my holy sect's ancestor will definitely hunt me down. Blood River Ancestor, a nascent soul cultivator. Li Quanqing was silent for a moment. What is his cultivation level? The early nascent soul? Hehe, kid, I admit that you are very strong, but it is just a pipe dream to try to defeat the nascent soul with a golden elixir. Yao Chen noticed his fear, and his consciousness became clearer, and his words became more arrogant again. Kid, let me tell you that my sect's ancestor successfully broke through the middle stage of the nascent soul 60 years ago. If you are afraid, just be good. Crack, crack. Before Yao Chen finished speaking, he saw the cold air spreading up, which completely froze the consciousness of this guy, and he was too lazy to listen to his nonsense. At the same time, the reincarnation bead shone brightly again, and the illusion filled the air, which once again made the consciousness of the demon cultivator sink, and it was difficult for him to break free. The middle stage of the nascent soul. It's a bit tricky. Li Quanqing exhaled a breath of turbid air, and at this time he also felt a lot of pressure. The gap between nascent soul cultivators is very huge, and every breakthrough in a small realm will bring a huge gap in strength. Even if he uses the combat power of the Ice Phoenix puppet, it is already his limit to deal with the early stage of the nascent soul cultivator. If he faces the middle stage of the nascent soul, the probability of defeat is very high, and it may even cost the entire Qingyu Li family. It must be said that he is indeed a little afraid and hesitant. The blood sun in his hand has completely turned into a hot potato. Even if it is imprisoned like this, it will also attract the attention of the Blood River sect for a long time. Why not report it to the Star sect? While he was hesitating, a sound transmission jade talisman of Li Quanqing suddenly vibrated, and Li Jinghua's voice came out from it. Master, a cultivator from the Longevity Dao came here, saying that he was ordered to see you to improve the spiritual vein grade of our Qingyu Cave Heaven. Could he be a liar? At this time, Li Quanqing frowned at first, and then a flash of inspiration suddenly came to his mind, and he suddenly made a decision. He looked at the blood sun in his hand. Facing the mysterious inheritance of the magic way and the secret method of the Blood River, the cultivators of the Longevity Dao must be very interested, right? Outside the Qingyu Cave Heaven, 10 elliptical metal shuttles were quietly suspended, which were out of tune with the surrounding Li family's immortal cultivation boats, like advanced technological creations. After receiving instructions from the family's top leaders, the Li family cultivators who were originally on guard also relaxed at this time, and even had good intentions. After all, the other party came to help their own spiritual veins to upgrade, so they naturally had to serve them well to avoid any accidents. I don't know which Taoist from the Changsheng Dao is here. Please let me do my best to be a good host. Li Quanqing flew out of the cave in trance, and looked at these shuttles. He was sure that they were all immortal monks from Zhongzhou. Unexpectedly, as the shuttle hatch opened, an unexpected figure walked out with a gentle smile on his face. Daoist Quanqing, it's been a long time since we last met. Senior brother Zhao Qian. Li Quanqing was stunned. He also didn't expect that this Yuanying great monk would come in person. The promotion of the 4th level spiritual vein is not easy. Some places require Yuanying monks to take action personally, so I came. Zhao Qian smiled and explained a few words. The 5-colored divine light was lingering around him, and the 5 element of essence were running. He looked like an ancient god descending to the world, transcendent. Li Quanqing smiled and chatted for a few words, but secretly communicated through the jade talisman. He asked the old patriarch to hide these incense gods, transform into Shinto magic tools, converge all the fluctuations of the soul, and store them in the space magic weapon. The Li family has many secrets, but the most attractive to the immortal monks is naturally the incense and fire. This kind of practice of entrusting the true spirit to the magic weapon is very consistent with the immortal dynasty, and it can even grow continuously by absorbing incense, which is a natural fit. Li Quanqing invited everyone into the Qingyu Cave Heaven. Out of respect, Zhao Qian did not use the Yuanying consciousness to explore, but just looked at it. It is indeed a good cave heaven and blessed land. It once reached the 4th level, but later it was consumed too much, and fell to a lower level. Zhao Qian saw some clues. In this way, the difficulty of upgrading the spirit vein will be much lower. 10 sky shuttles opened, and many immortal dynasty monks flew out of them, including Chindan, foundation building, and even many key refining realm monks, nearly 200 of them. They had a clear division of labor. After coming out, they began to explore the direction of the mountains and rivers of the Qinghai cave heaven. There was not much nonsense and the efficiency was extremely high. Daoist fellow Quanqing, don't be anxious. According to previous experience, it will take less than 3 months to complete the upgrade of the entire cave. Li Quanqing smiled without saying anything. In his heart, he even hoped that these immortality cultivators could stay for a while longer. If they happened to encounter the attack of the Blood River Patriarch, it would be fun to watch. Daoist fellow Quanqing, is there something on your mind? Is it related to the magic way and the nascent soul? Zhao Qian stared at him and suddenly spoke. After breaking through the peak of the nascent soul, his cultivation became more and more profound. He was close to the legendary understanding of the heart of heaven, knowing everything, and the gods knew it. Li Quanqing was a little stunned. He didn't say anything, but the other party had already had a whim, and had a sense. After hesitating for a moment, Li Quanqing did not choose to hide it, but took out the drop of blood god. Senior Zhao, do you think this thing has a connection with the immortality? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 358, The Remnant Spirit of the Cave Heaven. This is. Zhao Qian raised his eyebrows, looking at the blood-colored water drop in front of him, that was sealed by ice, and immediately had a guess in his heart. Interesting, it's actually the living blood god sun, which is a rare thing. The blood river is endless, and is said to be immortal. How is it? Do you think it's predestined? Li Quanqing smiled slightly. The way of immortality is indeed not simple. He didn't need to introduce too much, and he saw through Yao Chen's true identity. From the true disciple of the Blood River sect of the demonic Dao. It's indeed predestined. The Blood River sect is one of the origin sects of the demonic Dao that has been passed down from ancient times. Many demon masters have walked out of the god of transformation. I'm indeed a little moved by the Blood River inheritance. Zhao Qian picked up this blood drop. His fingertips were icy and piercing, and even a layer of frost quickly covered his skin. His nascent soul consciousness spread out, and he easily saw through the soul and true spirit of the Chindan cultivator contained in it, and there was nothing to hide. With the means of the immortal dynasty of immortality, there are many ways to pry open this guy's mouth and get the Blood River Sutra from it. However, what Zhao Qian was more interested in was the cold air that froze everything, as if it was a natural way to restrain the blood demon. The power of the dark. Senior brother Zhao exclaimed. Fellow Daoist Quanqing really has a lot of secrets. He actually possesses this powerful force that is enough to freeze everything. His eyes turned, and the 5-colored divine light around him bloomed, containing a great majesty. I'm afraid the price of this Blood River inheritance will not be too small. Please tell me in detail. Li Quanqing pondered for a moment. How about asking Senior Zhao to take action once and kill a certain demon cultivator? This was what he proposed after careful consideration. Of course, the probability of the other party accepting this request was not high. Are you going to kill the Blood River Patriarch? Sure enough, Zhao Qian guessed his thoughts at a glance. After all, with this drop of captured blood god, it was obvious that the Blood River sect and the Li family had a lot of conflicts. What do you think, Senior? Li Quanqing did not deny it. If he could directly solve the Blood River Patriarch, he would be able to rest assured. As far as he knew, there was only one nascent soul cultivator in the entire Blood River sect, the Ancestor, which was in line with the style of the demonic path, to raise all the cultivators in the sect to support one person. If you want to kill a mid-nascent soul cultivator, one drop of blood god sun is not enough. The cost and reward are not equal. Zhao Kan suddenly smiled. But if you add the secret method of how to extract this Zuanming true energy, you can consider it. It seems that this nascent soul cultivator is more interested in the power of Zuanming ice. Li Quanqing would naturally not agree. The ice phoenix puppet is his most important trump card and will naturally not be exposed to outsiders. If you insist on killing the Blood River ancestor, I can't help you. Zhao Kan shook his head lightly and gently put down the blood god sun in his hand, obviously wanting to change the conditions. With the strength of the Changsheng Immortal dynasty, it would be easy to destroy the Blood River sect, but the most important thing is the reaction of other demonic sects and even the entire East China Sea immortal cultivation world. When the demon race was rampant, many immortal cultivation sects in the East China Sea were forced to retreat to the Zhongzhou continent to recuperate. Later, as the Changsheng Dao rose to power, it acted in a domineering way, wanting to unify Zhongzhou and establish the supreme dynasty of immortal cultivators. The process naturally set off a bloody storm. There were also many cultivators and sects with different ideas, who longed to be free and unfettered and unwilling to be bound by rules, and return to the East China Sea, which established the current East China Sea immortal cultivation world. In addition to the external threat of the Demon Clan, although the East China Sea immortal cultivation world has a distinction between the righteous and the evil, when facing powerful foreign enemies, especially the pressure of the Changsheng immortal dynasty, they will also work together and be unanimously exclusive. Not only the East China Sea, but also other immortal cultivation worlds, such as Nanling, Zhimo, and Bian, are the same, and their relationship with the powerful Changsheng Dao can only be considered average. Then how about using this drop of blood sun to exchange for a 4th level formation that can resist Yuanying cultivators? Li Quanqing changed a condition and was no longer obsessed with killing the Blood River ancestor. When he explored the ruins of the 5 Elements sect, he also obtained a 4th level lotus formation from the Jingshenzhang, but the area covered was too small, only 100 acres. Now, with the upgrade of the Cave Heaven Spirit Vein, it is just right to set up this formation again, to protect the entire Cave Heaven and resist the possible attack of the nascent soul cultivators. After all, the Qingyu Li family belongs to the righteous forces. If the Blood River sect attacks, as long as there is time to resist, they can also call on the Star sect for help. This price is very suitable. Zhao Kan thought for a moment and finally agreed to this request. He will personally do it and set up this protective formation. Li Quanqing is also very satisfied with this result. The 4th level Ice Phoenix puppet cooperates with the 4th level formation. At least he has the means to deal with the nascent soul mid-stage cultivators and can protect all the clansmen. Days passed, and the efficiency of the immortal monks was very high. The process of upgrading the heaven and earth spirit veins was proceeding step by step. This day, it really came to the last critical moment, which was about to stimulate the last foundation of the entire cave heaven, and then the nascent soul cultivators would take action to completely upgrade the heaven and earth spirit veins. Boom. I saw a group of immortal monks floating in the air, and at the same time, they drove thick pillars into the deep ground to pull the source of the earth veins. Even the thinnest of these pillars were like small hills, carved with ancient and vivid runes, as if a yellow dragon was circling, a unicorn was lying on the cliff, and mountains and rivers were flowing in them. As these mountain and river pillars drilled into the depths of the earth, the entire Qingyu cave heaven suddenly made a rumbling sound, like a dragon turning over, shaking the earth and mountains. At the same time, more earth vein essences gushed out, like a fountain all over the sky, straight into the sky, and diffused between the clouds. Moan! Exclamation mark. To everyone's expectation, the sky between these essences drifting, surrounded by clouds and mist, turned into a phantom of a sea whale king, looking up to the sky and crying, lifelike. It's amazing. In ancient times, this blessed land had such a profound foundation that it almost gave birth to the legendary spirit of the cave. Unfortunately, with the destruction of heaven and earth, the spirituality was damaged, and it was no longer 1% of what it used to be. Later, because the spiritual energy of the cave declined, it completely became a mirage. Zhao Kan looked at the Kanghe Whale King, which was transformed from the essence of the earth veins between the clouds. The 5-colored light in his eyes bloomed, and he could see the truth. In order to upgrade the spiritual veins this time, he made a lot of preparations and read the scriptures and ancient books collected by many immortal dynasties. Only then did he know that there was still the spirit of the cave. Li Quanqing looked at this vigorous essence, but his heart moved. He suddenly took out the Hanhei bowl and released the spirit beast Canghei whale from it. Yin. The Canghei whale looked at this pure essence and immediately let out a happy moo. Its two wide fins were like wings hanging from the clouds, flapping their wings and flying into the depths of the sky. Want to help the spirit beast break through the golden elixir? Zhao Qian saw his plan and didn't mind giving a hand. He lowered his big hand, gathered all the essence in the sky, and poured it into the body of the Canghei whale. Chapter 359. Breakthroughs. Yin. In the Qinghai cave heaven, between the clouds, two large and small sea whales screamed to the sky, making melodious and reverberating calls, complementing each other. The sea whale king, whose body was as big as a mountain, was the remnant spirit of the cave heaven bred by the infinite earth essence. It was so huge that even the white clouds were just patterns on the surface of its skin. It was precisely because of the diffuse essence and the lack of a too solid entity that such a vast body was created. In comparison, although the body of the sea whale spirit beast was huge, it was not so exaggerated. It was a normal flesh and blood body. This cave heaven bred by nature has been a certain ancestral land of the sea whale clan since ancient times, and it is a paradise for this powerful monster. Until one day a group of immortal cultivators inherited from the Shyandao accidentally broke in and lived in peace with the sea whale, which created the reputation of the sea whale and has been passed down since then. At this time, the remnant spirit of the cave was naturally attracted by the blood of the sea whale. Strands of essence were compressed and transformed into the purest energy to drill into its body. Even Zhao Qian was taking action. With the pressure of the nascent soul, he forcibly compressed the essence and poured it into the flesh and blood of the spirit whale. It can be seen that the cultivation of the sea whale was already in the state of foundation building and had been polished for a long time. At this time, it really launched an attack towards the golden elixir realm, and it was very smooth. The original bottleneck was broken through, and even the qualifications were improved, and a reborn change occurred. The spirit of the cave is the most mysterious and powerful existence in the world. Its essence is similar to the heavenly way in the dark. It is the incarnation of the most original world, and has incredible power. The breakthrough is successful. Li Quanqing looked up, and looked at the sea whale. The rays of light bloomed all over the body, like clouds in the ocean, condensing into a demon pill interwoven with blue and white. Boom! Exclamation mark. At this moment, the golden elixir thunder tribulation descended again. The dark clouds covered the sun, and one could not see one's hand in front of one's face. Only the dazzling silver white lightning flashed, illuminating the world. The members of the Qinghai Li family were even a little numb when they saw this scene. They had seen too many thunder tribulations descend, and they were no longer surprised. Yin. 9 heavenly thunders descended, each one more powerful than the last. The might of heaven was magnificent and majestic, and people could not have any resistance. However, with the protection of the remnant spirit of the cave heaven, the power of the entire Qinghai cave heaven was mobilized to protect the body of the Canghei whale. Yin. Finally, accompanied by an excited cry, the Canghei whale truly survived the thunder tribulation and was reborn in the destructive thunder. The demonic energy surged like clouds. The power of the remnant spirit of the cave heaven was also truly exhausted at this time. With the last lingering hissing sound, it completely dissipated between heaven and earth. What a pity. Li Quanqing felt very sorry. If the environment of heaven and earth had not changed, this whale spirit could have been bred, born sacred, and always guarded this ancient paradise. He turned his eyes and looked at the forehead of the Canghei whale, where a gentle white light gathered and turned into a shining ball of light. Harvest a Canghei whale king in the early stage of Jiandan, and reward the Yuanying secret treasure whale king holy armor. Whale king holy armor, Yuanying secret treasure, with incredible power. Wearing this armor, the Jiandan monk who has practiced the Canghei whale king gong can forcibly upgrade his physical body to the Yuanying level, and can compete across levels. Li Quanqing did not expect that there would be such a reward. Such a powerful secret treasure can make Jiandan monks compete with Yuanying monks. Some of them are similar to the betrayal pearl, inherited by Li family, which can make the foundation building monks of the great perfection exert the power of the Gengjin level. Li Quanqing exhaled a long breath of turbid air, and excitement surged in his heart. The pressure he had been under for a long time was finally relieved a lot. With this holy armor protecting the whole body, plus the Ice Phoenix puppet, that is the combat power of 2 Yuan, enough to compete with the Blood River ancestor. With the 4th level formation that is about to be completed, there are finally enough trump cards. Li Quanqing wanted to calm the joy in his heart, but he couldn't suppress the corners of his mouth, and his excitement was overflowing. Zhao Kan also noticed his abnormality, but didn't care, thinking that he was excited because of the Kanghe whale's down. Next, let's start the promotion of the entire cave heaven. Today's mighty power is pervasive, just the best time. Zhao Kan looked at the robbery light disappearing in the clouds, and suddenly spoke, making a decision to start the final step of the spiritual vein upgrade. Li Quanqing naturally would not stop him. With a wave of his sleeves, he directly put the Kanghe whale into the Hanhei bowl, and at the same time secretly took away the ball of light. It was obviously not the time to take a closer look, and there were Yuan cultivators present, so it was better to leave it for later to crush it and start the joy of harvest. As Zhao Kan's order fell, all the immortal Taoist monks took action at the same time, forming seals with their hands, and opened the mountain and river pillars that were driven deep into the earth. More than 100 mountain and river pillars vibrated at the same time, and the Taoist traces engraved on the surface seemed to come alive, gushing out an incredibly amazing essence of heaven and earth. These mountain and river pillars connected to each other and turned into a spiritual vein of the earth. The extremely rich spiritual energy was compressed and finally turned into a spiritual stone vein, helping the earth vein of the cave to have a physical body. It's really a big deal. Such a huge consumption is a favor. Li Quanqing created the Hanhei cave heaven with his own hands, and he also had a lot of experience in the promotion of this kind of cave heaven spiritual vein. However, the spiritual essence consumed can be called endless, and I don't know how many spiritual stone origins have been refined. With countless consumption, the grade of the entire Qingyu cave heaven was promoted to the 4th level spiritual vein at a very fast speed. Visible to the naked eye, the spiritual energy of the surrounding heaven and earth surged and gushed out, turning into misty fog and flowing, with fairy spirit floating, making the mountains and rivers look like fairies. Boom! Exclamation mark. What was unexpected was that the spiritual vein promotion actually also attracted the arrival of the heavenly tribulation. The thunder in the sky gathered, and the power was so strong that it even changed the color of the heaven and earth. It's finally here, everyone. Set up the formation. Zhao Kan seemed to have expected it. Facing this vast thunder tribulation, his whole body was full of mana, and a 5-colored ring was spinning behind him, illuminating the entire heaven and earth. Those immortal monks were also calm in the face of danger. They had already laid out the formation, using the mountain and river pillars as the foundation, and wanted to bathe the spiritual veins of the entire cave together with the thunder tribulation, and obtain the fortune of heaven and earth. This is an indispensable step. Even if it is a lifeless earth spiritual vein, if it wants to undergo a transformation, it also needs to be recognized by heaven and earth. Thunder is like the sea, and the power of heaven is like a prison. The horror of this thunder tribulation has definitely exceeded the level of Gengjin and reached the scope of Yuan monks. This is why Zhao Kan came in person. As the spirit veins were promoted, the entire Qingyu cave heaven rumbled, the void cracked, and began to slowly expand. The power of the Taixu space was abnormally active. In the Hanhei bowl, the void butterfly that was originally quietly suspended also woke up and let out a hiss. He wanted to devour this infinite space power and try to break through the late Gengjin stage. Chapter 360 Void Battlefield. In the vast sea bowl, the void butterfly vibrated its wings, sensing the drastic spatial changes in the outside world, and wanted to devour the power of the great void to break through. Li Quanqing did not refuse. Looking at the Qingyu cave heaven, which was in the advanced stage of the spiritual vein, he directly released the silver-white void butterfly, like a ball of gorgeous silver light. Chirp! Exclamation mark. When the void butterfly came to the outside world, it suddenly let out a joyful cry and felt that it was in the turbulent sea of the great void and felt a great sense of satisfaction. It spread its wide silver-white wings, which were shiny and wide like sails, and absorbed the active spatial power around it and began to break through to the late stage of the golden core. It can be seen that the abundant silver-white light bloomed, blazing and dazzling, turning into long rainbows, which were the purest demonic energy, surging between heaven and earth. The posture of the Yuanying demon beast. The sky was full of thunder and lightning, and Zhao had a 5-colored ring on his head. Every time he rotated a circle, he could bloom a more dazzling glow. The Dao marks intertwined and turned into a lotus-like protective barrier that was difficult for thunder to invade. Faced with such a powerful heavenly tribulation, senior brother Zhao was still at ease and even took the time to look at the void butterfly that broke through below. He could see that the blood of this mutant void beast was very powerful and there was a great probability that it would break through the 4th order nascent soul realm. This Daoist fellow Quanqing is really not simple. He has the potential to break through the nascent soul, and the monster he subdued is also so powerful. If there is a void beast in the nascent soul realm to help, when Daoist fellow Quanqing breaks through the Dan and becomes an infant, perhaps he can also start the journey of the 10,000 worlds. Zhao retracted his gaze and began to concentrate on dealing with this thunder tribulation. The 5 element of magic power bloomed around him, directly destroying the heavenly thunder, turning into the purest essence and dissipating between heaven and earth. In this process, the earth spirit veins of King Gaiu Cave Heaven were also experiencing the tempering of heavenly thunder. The spirit stone mine was truly formed and became thicker and thicker, as if it were a dragon entrenched in the earth. Until the last thunder fell, the heavenly tribulation ended, and the void butterfly also broke through successfully, stepping into the late Gengjin realm, and the silver light was as blazing as the sun. Harvest a late Gengjin void butterfly, and be rewarded with a 4th level top grade nascent soul spiritual treasure void battlefield. Void battlefield, a 4th level top grade spiritual treasure. After using it, the space is boundless and enemies can be taken in for battle. Once the enemy's cultivation level is determined to exceed the battlefield owner, the power of the law will be triggered to seal the enemy's cultivation level to a small realm, and the battle will be fair. The function of this spiritual treasure. Li Quanqing looked at the words that appeared in front of him and was shocked. He didn't expect that such a powerful spiritual treasure with the power of rules would be opened. In simple terms, if you encounter an enemy with the cultivation level of the middle nascent soul, you can take out this void battlefield and fight. Since Li Quanqing's cultivation level is relatively low, he will use the power of rules to suppress the enemy's cultivation level to a small realm, that is, the early nascent soul. In terms of the power of the spiritual treasure itself, the void battlefield may not be as powerful as the 5 element ring. It is more inclined to auxiliary, and the power of rules is almost unsolvable. Why do I feel like it is specially prepared for the Blood River ancestor? After Li Quanqing figured out the effect of this spiritual treasure, his face suddenly became slightly strange. He was also thinking, if he encountered a cultivator in the early stage of the nascent soul, would he fall directly to the golden core realm under the suppression of the rules, by using the void battlefield? According to the text of the golden finger, the void battlefield can seal a small realm. If you want to seal a large realm, I'm afraid it is not enough. Li Quanqing looked at the void butterfly, which flapped its wings again after breaking through, and regained its calm personality. He waved his sleeves gently, and put it into the Hanhei bowl again. Fellow Daoist Quanqing looks very happy. Zhao slowly fell from the clouds, and the calamity clouds behind him slowly dissipated. The thunder light in the sky dissipated, revealing the azure sky again. Success. Li Quanqing was about to ask, when he sensed a rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth, erupting like a volcano, and gathering like a tsunami from all directions. This is the power of the 4th level spiritual vein. The thunder calamity dissipated, and many members of the Li family walked out of the building, feeling this unprecedented pure spiritual energy. Their faces intoxicated, and their cultivation bases were ready to move. The air was filled with a fresh and majestic breath. All things were nourished by this power, and were full of vitality, announcing the birth of the 4th level heaven and earth spirit vein. The mountains and rivers shook, the spirit was born, and the earth seemed to be injected with endless vitality. Every inch of land exuded a dazzling brilliance, illuminating the entire Qingyu cave heaven. Fortunately, I have fulfilled my mission. The next step is to set up the 4th level formation and completely complete our transaction. Zhao Qian laughed. He was a cultivator who kept his promises very much. If he said something, he would do it. Li Quanqing would naturally not refuse. He took out the formation plate that he had harvested from the ruins of the 5-element sect before. It was like a 5-colored lotus blooming and lifelike. It's really a powerful, ancient, and mysterious formation. Zhao Qian was familiar with this formation. He had integrated some of the memories of the 5-element ring array spirit and naturally understood the method of setting up the formation. It can be said that he was the most suitable Yuanying cultivator for this job. It took a whole month for Zhao Qian to successfully expand the scope of the formation, using the newly nurtured 4th level spirit Vena's energy to cover the entire Qingyu cave heaven. 5-element lotus ceiling heaven array. This is the name of the 4th level formation. The 5-element of essence flow and turn into lotus petals, blending into the sky and earth of the Qingyu cave heaven, leaving no dead corners. As long as there are outsiders who try to break into the cave heaven, they will be discovered by the Li family cultivators at the first time, and the 5-element ceiling heaven formation will also take the initiative to exert its power. This is the formation treasure that controls the entire 5-element lotus formation. Daoist friends, take it carefully, it can burst out the full power of the entire formation. In Zhao Qian's palm, a 5-colored ring was suspended, surrounded by rosy clouds, and the entire Qingyu cave heaven was vaguely manifested in the center of the ring. 5-element ring. Li Quanqing raised his eyebrows, and then realized that this was just a replica of the top-grade Yuanying Ling Bao, but it was also very powerful. He also kept his promise, took out the drop of blood, and handed it to the other party. It's a pity that I didn't get the power of Zhu and Ming. Zhao Qian took the blood droplet casually, looking very regretful. Li Quanqing did not respond. Now that he had a series of trump cards in hand, he would be sure to win, even if the Blood River Patriarch attacked. The transaction was completed, and there was no need for many cultivators of the Changsheng Dao to stay here. They still had many tasks to do in Zhongzhou. After Li Quanqing sent them away, he finally had time to sit cross-legged on the embankment and began to check the harvest during this period. He took out 2 Yuanying Ling Bao, looked at them carefully, and then refined them with Xian's magic power and stamped his own breath. The Whale King's holy armor was azure blue, covered with white cloud-like patterns, and carved a Kanghe Whale King, floating in the vast sea, as if he could still hear the melodious mooing, ringing in his ears. With the infusion of mana, the Whale King's holy armor turned into the size of a fist, and the sea blue light was like breathing, exuding an aura that pressured the world. The void battlefield was silver white all over, and it looked a bit like a chessboard, covered with crisscrossing lines. The power of rules permeated, exuding an incomparable oppressive force, as if it was enough to seal everything. Even the strong men in the nascent soul great perfection realm could hardly resist it. 2 powerful spiritual treasures were suspended around Li Quanqing, shining brightly. With the addition of the Ice Phoenix puppet, he had enough cards. At this moment, a tide of spiritual energy suddenly rose in the fish pond next to him, and then the longevity turtle lazily floated out, with demonic energy blooming all over his body, and letting out a roar. After all these years of practice, the longevity turtle finally completed his practice and began to break through the late stage of foundation building. Chapter 361 Longevity Pill. In the fish pond, the longevity turtle was quietly breaking through. Wisps of demonic energy bloomed from its shell, breaking the calm water surface and spreading as ripples. Li Quanqing sat cross-legged on the embankment, with 2 powerful spiritual treasures rotating around him, and the glow of the clouds filled his body. At the same time, he paid attention to the movements here. The longevity turtle clan is very strange, with a long lifespan, and there are not many bottlenecks in their practice. But corresponding to this is their long growth rate. If you want to break through the golden elixir, you need at least 500 years to grow to this level. The longevity turtle raised by Li Quanqing has only lived for less than 100 years, and is about to break through the late stage of foundation building, and face the great catastrophe of forming the elixir. The speed of practice, can be said to be amazing. Among them, it is naturally, because of those incredible natural treasures. For example, the demon elixir of Teo and Black Turtle, the root bone baptism of Cheyenne Manor, and the skeleton left by a 4th level longevity turtle later. For those longevity turtles with normal growth rates, these are unimaginable treasures that they will never encounter in their lifetime. Li Quanqing was distracted by refining the spiritual treasure, and his magic power was like a thread. He began to inject his blood imprint into it and change the spirit of the weapon into his own shape. The breakthrough of the longevity turtle was very stable and surprisingly slow. It took half a month before it succeeded in breaking through. Finally, the spirit turtle let out a swaying roar, and white gas surged around it, turning into a crystal light ball with an attractive color. Harvest a longevity turtle in the late stage of foundation building, and reward the 3rd level magic elixir Burning Life Pill. Burning Life Pill, a 3rd level elixir from the ancient magic sect. After taking it, it will burn 100 years of life in an instant, allowing the giant and monk to burst out with a fighting power comparable to that of a Yuanying, which lasts for 1 hour. Turtle, you are wrong. Li Quanqing sighed. He didn't expect that the spirit turtle, which is famous for its long lifespan, could actually offer such a reward of burning lifespan. According to common sense, it should be normal to open a 3rd level life extension pill. How afraid are you that I will be beaten to death by a Yuanying cultivator? Li Quanqing took the light ball and crushed it. After the crystal light spots dispersed, it turned into a pale white pill, with blood red lines all over the surface and a sinister aura. An extremely pungent smell of blood entered the nasal cavity, making the blood and ki of the whole body surge and almost boil, as if the flesh and blood organs were about to burn. Ice Phoenix Puppet, Whale Emperor Holy Armor, Void Battlefield, and this Burning Life Pill. Li Quanqing carefully put away the pill. At this time, he was full of confidence, and was absolutely sure to fight against the Yuanying cultivator and fight against the enemy. Time flowed slowly again. It had been a full year since the Qingyu Cave Heaven spiritual vein was successfully upgraded. On the surface of the cave, the array patterns intertwined, the Dao marks evolved, and the 5-colored lotus slowly bloomed, hidden in the void, and only a ray of rosy clouds could be seen occasionally. The aura of the 4th level formation that sealed the sky and locked the earth permeated, giving people a great sense of security. Abilities such as Void Shuttle would also be restricted. During this year, influenced by the abundant spiritual energy, many members of the Qingyu Li family broke through the realm, and even 2 new foundation building monks were born. Everything was thriving. Isn't the Blood River ancestor coming yet? Li Quanqing sat cross-legged by the fish pond as usual, looking at the blue sky and white clouds above his head, feeling like punching cotton. He prepared so many things, and he didn't dare to leave the Qingyu Cave Heaven, sitting day and night. He even told many Li family foundation building monks to be careful when they go out, so as not to be attacked by the demon monks. Unexpectedly, it was so calm and peaceful, and the entire Qingyu Sea was calm. But! Exclamation mark. While thinking, a jade plate in the Qianqun bracelet suddenly vibrated, and the patterns on the surface lit up, flickering. Is this the contact information left by Zhao Qian? Li Quanqing raised his eyebrows, took out the jade plate, and poured magic power into it. Suddenly, there was light interweaving, revealing the figure of Zhao Qian, the Immortal, with a smart look. Fellow Daoist Quanqing, did any cultivators from the Blood River Road attack your Li family? No. Li Quanqing shook his head. Senior, you contacted me at this time, but did you find anything? Almost. I have almost thoroughly studied the Blood Godson. Next, I will test the immortality of the Blood River divine power, which will cause this guy's soul tablet to be broken. Li Quanqing understood it immediately after hearing this. The broken life tablet of Yao Chen, a cultivator of the demonic Dao, will definitely attract the attention of the Blood River sect. After all, this demon sect has only one Yuanying, and Yao Chen, who has reached the great perfection of the golden core, must have a high status in it. Thank you for telling me, senior. Li Quanqing bowed solemnly, thinking that this senior brother Zhao was quite nice, and actually took the initiative to remind him. Fellow Daoist Quanqing, I once read a book written by an ancient cultivator, which put forward a certain unproven conjecture. Many brilliant cultivators want to break the pill and become infants. In addition to the magnificent heavenly tribulation, there is also the entanglement of fate and cause and effect in the dark, and they have to overcome the human tribulation. Perhaps you are one of them. If you can survive this disaster safely, your path to the nascent soul will be smooth in the future. With a humming sound, the light and shadow went out, the jade plate dimmed, leaving only Zhao Qian's words echoing, and finally disappeared into the air. Human tribulation. Li Quanqing was a little speechless. As expected of the pride of the immortal way, he could actually say that an unprovoked disaster sounded so good. But if you think about it carefully, it makes sense. After all, the reason why Yao Chen was his enemy was because of Situluo's death. The deeper reason behind it was related to the Huangquan sect, which was the natural enemy of their descendants of the Blue Sea God, and the cause and effect had been entangled for tens of thousands of years. With the death of Yao Chen, the son of the Blood God, the Blood River Demon sect finally realized that something had happened to this law enforcer. 3 months later, on this day, accompanied by the cold fluctuations of mana, a blood-colored stream of light came fiercely, directly cutting through the void, and descending on the Qingyu Sea, overwhelming the world. The Li family had already laid out spies and surveillance formations in various parts of the sea, so it was easy to find the opponent's traces at this time. Finally, Li Quanqing opened his eyes, and felt an inexplicable excitement. His heart was surging. He was about to have a battle with a real nascent soul cultivator. Quanqing, Li Kunlun, Li Zhongyao and even Li Kunli all arrived, with worries in their eyes, and they had already seen through the cause and effect. Don't worry, I have made all the preparations. You just need to stick to the formation, and notify the Gengjin sect immediately. Li Quanqing took out the formation treasure in the shape of a 5-colored ring, and gave it to the old patriarch for safekeeping. At the same time, he left behind many golden elixir spirit beasts on his body, and activated the 5-element lotus sealing heaven formation together. He likes to be fully prepared for everything. Even if he has a plan and enough trump cards, he is unwilling to gamble on the 1 in 10,000 chance of failure. So without hesitation, Li Quanqing prepared to notify the Gengjin sect. If the Blood River Patriarch is powerful, even if he loses, he can still hold on until the Yuanying's engine of the Gengjin sect arrives, and joins forces to fight the enemy. After instructing everything, Li Quanqing exhaled all the turbid air, put on the Whale King holy armor, and a vast sea of light surged all over his body, and his aura rose steadily. Break through the Yuanying. Chapter 362 Blood River Ancestor. Is this the power of the nascent soul realm? Li Quanqing was wearing the holy armor, and the glow of the sea whale body was surging. The body of the Kanghe whale emperor was activated, accompanied by the melodious whale cry, and the breath directly broke through the nascent soul realm. Although the holy armor raised his physical strength to the level of the nascent soul cultivator, it also greatly improved his own magic power, far exceeding the golden core great perfection cultivator. This is Li Kunlun and his companions were shocked when they saw this scene, and even a little confused, unable to figure out where they got this powerful treasure. I will go to fight, you guard the family. Li Quanqing spoke in a dull voice. The whole person was wrapped in armor, even the head, without any skin exposed. He only felt an extremely powerful force surging out of this holy armor, and pouring into his body. Between breathing, it was like erupting from a terrifying volcano, as if it was enough to easily overturn the mountains. Extremely powerful. Whoosh! Exclamation mark. Li Quanqing took just one step and directly crossed hundreds of miles. The boundless space was just a stone's throw away, and arrived in the blink of an eye. He passed through that layer of lotus-like formation, walked out of the green jade cave heaven, and floated in the air, waiting for the arrival of the enemy. Buzz! The great formation behind him hummed and opened, and the 5-colored lotus blossomed layer by layer. The power of the 5-element flowed, absorbing the power of the 4th level spiritual veins. The power of the lotus sealing heaven formation was brought to its extreme. At this time, even if Li Quanqing wanted to return to the cave heaven and pass through this layer of formation, it would take a breath to open a gap, which was an obvious break in the formation. Boom! Exclamation mark. A huge roar came from between the clouds, like a thunderous sonic boom, and then a blood-colored meteor streaked through the sky, descended here, and overlooked all living beings. The blood-colored brilliance was diffused, and a human figure could be vaguely seen. and the demonic energy surged, covering the sky. Is this the little Li family? You knew that the ancestor was coming a long time ago. It seems that the idiot Yao Chen really died here. Unexpectedly, the voice of the Blood River Patriarch was very young and pleasant, with a bewitching power that made people feel attached to him. He looked at Li Quanqing, who was wearing holy armor, and exclaimed softly. There were amazing colors blooming in his eyes, and his pupils illuminated the world. What a powerful spiritual treasure. It can actually make a giant and cultivator comparable to a Yuanying. This thing is destined to be with me, the ancestor. It can be seen that the Blood River Patriarch had a strong greedy heart, which was in line with the greed of the demon cultivators. He did whatever he wanted and wished to plunder all the treasures in the world. Li Quanqing did not say anything, but took out the Han-Hei bowl with a flip of his hand. The cold air surged and released the ice phoenix puppet. The deathly air was filled, and the surging ice fog froze the sea water. Incredibly powerful spiritual treasures, and a Yuanying battle puppet. Who are you? Are you from the former Yuanying clan? This time, it was the Blood River Patriarch who began to be afraid. Facing two Yuanying warriors at the same time, he felt pressured. Although he was in the middle stage of the Yuanying, he was always cautious, even timid, and never took risks. What he liked most was to defeat the weak with the strong. Over the years, there were also brilliant people in the Blood River sect who could break the pill and become infants, but they were all strangled by him in advance. Through the Blood River secret method, he swallowed up all the magic power and soul, which became the nourishment for his cultivation. Even Yao Chen was the same. He had already reserved the food, waiting to enjoy it in the future, so as to break through the late stage of the Yuanying. This was also the reason why the Blood River Patriarch came in person. After all, it was a pity to cultivate for hundreds of years. He even wanted to get the remains left by the Blood Godson. But if he fought with the Yuanying for a piece of food, and even might damage himself, it would be a loss. As these thoughts flashed, in a flash, the Blood River Patriarch made a decision. My friend, that idiot Yao Chen offended you, and he deserved it. If he was still alive, the ancestor would have slapped him to death, and sent him to apologize to you. Now that the Li family has not suffered any losses, why don't we make peace with each other? The Blood River Patriarch had no pride of a nascent soul cultivator, and he surrendered directly, preparing to retreat to the rear, and make plans later. Too late. Li Quanqing was not ready to let him go. He didn't believe a word of the old devil's words. He was full of bad water, and was bad to the bone. While the Blood River Patriarch was talking, he had already joined forces with the Ice Phoenix puppet, to truly stimulate the void battlefield. A silver light bloomed, and then the void was distorted, instantly covering this world, and the void Dao marks intertwined, turning into a chessboard, sealing everything. The treasure of Takesu. This kid is simply rich. The Blood River ancestor let out a strange cry, and blood light burst out all over his body. He dared not stay any longer, and prepared to flee thousands of miles away, to settle the score later. This kind of Takesu spiritual treasure with its own space, is the most restraining to the Blood River Dao technique, and there is nowhere to escape. However, how could Li Quanqing let him have his way? The silver white light fell, penetrated through the layers of space, and directly restrained it, and sent it into the void battlefield. Following closely, Li Quanqing also got into it with the Ice Phoenix puppet. After the light dissipated, there was no trace of them on the spot, leaving only a silver white chessboard, suspended under the sky. Boy, do you really want to force me, the ancestor, to take action? That's a fight to the death. The Blood River ancestor landed in the battlefield, and immediately became alert, his voice rumbling, and he looked fierce but was weak. Li Quanqing fell from the sky, and also looked around. This was also his first time entering this space. The land was silvery white, as if it was boundless. The hills rose and fell, shining like silver, and filled with an indestructible aura. Boy, if you want to entangle, then go and die. The sea of blood is boundless. With a roar, the body of the Blood River Patriarch suddenly exploded, and countless blood flowed on the ground. The whole world was shrouded in this endless blood color, which was horrifying. Facing the surging sea of blood, Li Quanqing remained calm, just trying his best to activate this empty battlefield. But a force of rules permeated, judging everything, and instantly determining the level of cultivation of the cultivators on both sides. Countless runes turned into silver light, like a heavenly sword slashing down. Ah, my cultivation. With a scream, the blood and water around the Blood River Patriarch surged, and his breath suddenly weakened a lot, falling to the realm of the middle stage of the nascent soul. He became visibly weak. Facing this strange and powerful Teksu treasure, the Blood River Patriarch felt fear for the first time, fearing that he would fall. It really works. This is a truly fair contest. Seeing this scene, the heavy stone in Li Quanqing's heart finally fell to the ground. The pitch black dragon roared, and its body circled, turning into a war halberd, and falling into his hand, revealing its sharp edge, truly revealing the terrifying power of the nascent soul spirit treasure. Beside it, the ice phoenix puppet also made a deadly cry, and also activated the ice mysterious frozen sky mirror, and the mysterious key froze the sea of blood all over the sky. Chapter 363, Yuanying Self-Destruction. The silver-white battlefield of the void was boundless and vast, filled with the power of rules everywhere, and the hills rose and fell like silver veins extending into the distance. Three nascent soul auras collided here, rumbling, and the magic power was overwhelming. The long blood-colored river flowed on the land, and the devilish aura was terrifying. Obviously, after being suppressed by the battlefield of the void, the Blood River Patriarch was directly at a disadvantage, and was beaten back by the two nascent soul combat forces. Little friend of the Li family, this time it is my Blood River sect that admits defeat. You and I will retreat here, make a vow to the heavenly Dao, and never invade in the future. How about that? The blood surged, and turned into a human figure. After the magic light dissipated, his face was unexpectedly young and handsome. The Blood River Patriarch was really too young, looking only in his early 20s, with an upright posture, handsome face, and a demonic aura. It can be seen that this old devil was really anxious, and his powerful magic power was suppressed, and fell into a disadvantage. Although the Blood River sect is an ancient sect of the demonic path, its scripture inheritance is not surprisingly lethal, and its ability to save lives is more powerful, which can be called immortal. Cry. The ice phoenix puppet let out a cry. The soul fire in its skull was beating fiercely, and the broken feathers were draped on the skeleton. It opened its mouth and spit out the Xuanming true key, like an ice blue fairy sword slashing down. Li Quanqing answered with actual actions. The Xuanming cold ice spread layer by layer, directly freezing a large area of the Blood River into ice, defeating the demonic energy, and turning it into nothingness. Is this the power of Xuanming? Damn it, your ancestors came from the Xuanming Dao Palace in the Northern Territory? No. You are the inheritance left by the Cheyenne Dao. The Blood River Patriarch has lived for a long time, has a broad vision, and knows many ancient secrets. In the Northern Cold Territory, the Xuanming Dao controls the Xuanming True Water, one of the 7 True Waters, and has a deep connection with the Cheyenne Dao. It is the most top-notch power in the world. Most importantly, the Xuanming True meaning naturally restrains the Blood River inheritance, and the ice freezes everything, so even the invisible blood godson can hardly escape. Dao, are you really going to fight to the death? A large area of blood turned into powder, and the area covered by the demonic energy became smaller and smaller. The Blood River Patriarch's emotions calmed down instead, and a fierce light flashed in his scholar eyes. The calmer the old demon is, the more dangerous he is, just like a poisonous snake lurking in the dark, showing its fangs, ready to give a fatal blow at any time. Since you are here, you must be prepared to fall. Li Quanqing's body was hidden in the Whale King's holy armor, and his magic power was all around, so powerful that it was unbelievable. Even so, he was still alert and ready to take out the burning life ball at any time, not leaving the other party a chance to die together. Although 100 years of life is long, he can still afford it. He is confident that within 60 years, he will truly break the pill and become an infant and rank among the top cultivators in the world. Well said. In a life and death battle, the ancestor is willing to accept defeat. It all depends on whether you have the ability, kid. The Blood River ancestor laughed, and at this time, he exuded a sense of magnanimity, truly revealing the character of a Yuanying's engine. Blood transforming magic sand. All spirits are annihilated. Tick tock. Tick tock. The skin of the Blood River ancestor cracked, and drops of bright red blood fell from it, instantly dyeing him into a bloody man. The strange thing is that these blood beads condensed and did not disperse, and the color became deeper and deeper. In the end, they turned into grains of magic sand, engraved with evil patterns, and filled with a pungent smell of blood. This is the natal magic treasure that the Blood River ancestor has been refining for hundreds of years, which contains incredible power. The blood transforming magic sand covered the sky and the sun, making a whistling sound. In the violent rotation, it was sharper than the magic sword, enough to cut off the flesh and blood of living beings layer by layer. The power is pretty good. Li Quanqing's eyes were calm. He had too many powerful spiritual treasures in his hands. In his opinion, these blood transforming magic sands were just average, and there was nothing amazing about them. In fact, many cultivators have exhausted all their potential after breaking through the nascent soul realm. Many people spend their entire lives, spending thousands of years, and can only stay in the early stage of the nascent soul, without making any progress. Like the Blood River Patriarch, he used the secret magic method to devour his disciples and finally broke through the middle stage of the nascent soul. He can even be called a leader. Magic sand blood slaves, come out. The Blood River Patriarch kept making seals with his hands, and his magical powers changed. I saw grains of magic sand shuttled through the sea of blood, and they actually combined with the blood and water to turn into blood red magic shadows wearing armor. Each of these blood shadow magic slaves has a combat power comparable to that of a giant and cultivator. At this time, they are so densely packed, and coupled with the power of the magic sand, the power is simply unimaginable. Boom! Exclamation mark. The sea of blood roared, and hundreds of giant and blood slaves soared into the sky together, with a fierce momentum, sweeping across the sky like raindrops, making the Yuanying pale. As expected of an old demon with a long history, he has a deep foundation. Now he has finally shown his true strength. Are you ready to fight to the death? Seeing hundreds of giant and monks attacking at the same time, even Li Quanqing was distracted for a moment. This scene was too shocking. Boom. His Yuanying level mana infusion, accompanied by the roar of a dragon, the pitch black magic dragon instantly became extremely huge, and its body rumbled and crushed past. The magic halberd was used, turning into a Yuanying dragon, with scales clanging all over its body, and its big claws whistled past, instantly crushing several magic sand blood slaves, and turning them into a pool of blood again. This was a competition between 4th level spiritual treasures. The magic power of both sides was similar, and the final battle was their respective foundations. This magic weapon looks familiar. How come it looks like the magic halberd of Huanquan sect? The Blood River Patriarch's face was slightly changed, as if he knew why Yao Chen would find this small giant and family, and it was actually related to the hidden Huanquan demon sect. The two nascent soul magic treasures collided, blood shadows filled the sky, and the magic dragon roared. In the end, the magic dragon halberd naturally prevailed, and its body was indestructible. Explode. The Blood River Patriarch was merciless. His sleeves fell, and he immediately manipulated the blood transforming magic sand to tremble violently, and finally exploded with a bang, setting off a monstrous mana fluctuation. This powerful force is enough to rival the self-detonation of the Gengjin. Li Quanqing stretched out his hand and the body of the magic dragon suddenly coiled and circled, protecting him and Bingfenging it, and bearing this terrible storm. Hundreds of blood slaves exploded together, and even the blood transforming magic sand contained in them also exploded at this moment, turning into a blood-colored mana storm that swept across, enough to cut the mountain in half. The Blood River ancestor was really cruel. He could give up his life treasure that he had been refining for hundreds of years without hesitation, just like the stars exploding in the sky. Unfortunately, the body of the demon dragon was hard, mixed with the dragon scales of the divine dragon. Even if the scales were broken, they could still be regenerated with the help of the magic energy. When the blood red light in the sky dissipated, a black light bloomed, revealing the figure of the demon dragon halberd spirit, safe and sound. It's really the young who are to be feared. The ancestor lost. The Blood River ancestor stood alone on the ground. The blood sea around him dried up, looking very bleak and lonely. The dazzling blood red light bloomed. It was the last Yuanying level sand mother, which was as big as a human head. It rose slowly from behind him like a bloody sun. If the Blood River doesn't die, then we will die together. In an instant, the blood transforming sand mother suddenly exploded, and together with the blood river ancestor's whole body of magic power, it turned into the most blazing light. A force that destroyed the world spread wildly around with the explosion point as the center. The blood swept across, as if to devour everything around it, making a low and terrifying roar, like the roar from the netherworld blood sea. Chapter 364, Demon Suppression Master. Boom. Along with the self-explosion of the Blood River Patriarch, a destructive force erupted, like a blood-red sun, blooming in the empty battlefield. The force was like a raging tsunami, and wherever it went, the space was torn into waves, as if the whole world was about to collapse in this terrifying self-explosion. The dazzling bloodlight pierced the sky, covering the sky and the sun, and the whole world was shrouded in the terrifying scene of the Yuanying self-explosion. Groan! Exclamation mark. The demon dragon roared, emitting a purple-black light, and fled far away in an instant, shuttling between the silver-white hills, avoiding the core power of this self-explosion. As expected of an old devil, he is indeed treacherous and cruel to himself. He is willing to abandon his physical body and hide his life. Li Quanqing looked through the layers of scales and armor to the blood-red setting sun, and had already seen through the Blood River Patriarch's plan. Those key refining cultivators who have just embarked on the path of cultivation have a strong instinct for survival. In order to survive, they can pay any price. What's more, this old devil who has lived for hundreds of years has a cunning and cruel personality, and he cherishes his life the most. Even if there is only a glimmer of hope, he will fight to the death. Die together? Not possible. For a nascent soul cultivator, the physical body is not the most important thing, but the nascent soul that carries the true spirit is. Even if the physical body is blown into pieces, as long as the nascent soul exists, it can still take over the body of the cultivator and be reborn, and even restore the once powerful cultivation in a short time. Li Quanqing's mind was as clear as a mirror. The Blood River Patriarch just wanted to use the power of mana and the power of the self-explosion of the spiritual treasure to impact the void battlefield, break a crack in this powerful space, and then the nascent soul escaped and fled. Unfortunately, he underestimated the power of the void battlefield. This is a 4th level top grade spiritual treasure, corresponding to the nascent soul grade perfection level. It is the strongest existent second only to the transformation spirit treasure. The self-explosion of mid-stage nascent soul cultivator is far from reaching the upper limit of the void battlefield, and the space is still as solid as a rock. After the blood-red light faded, the original place was indeed empty. Although many silver hills were annihilated and no longer existed, there were no black space cracks, only space ripples, and they were recovering rapidly. Where is this old devil hiding? Li Quanqing used his mind to communicate with the spirit of the weapon in the void battlefield, and his consciousness was far-reaching, not missing any tiny space fluctuations. Crash. The next moment, the power of the void bloomed, turning into silver chains that intertwined, and directly probed into a certain void, pulling out a crystal clear blood-red yuanying. Interesting, it is rumored that the yuanying of the cultivator can already touch the power of space and teleport over a short distance. It is true. Li Quanqing looked at this blood-red yuanshan baby, and felt that it was quite mysterious, containing the most fundamental embodiment of the avenue of a powerful cultivator. Daoyao, do you really want to kill them all? The nascent soul of the Blood River Patriarch was very similar to him, and even more demonic. It kept dripping with blood, and was covered with demonic patterns, which looked a little ferocious. Ancestor, you said it yourself, and you should accept the loss. Li Quanqing had no sympathy at all. The silver white light in his palm burst out, and turned into a pair of void scissors. If you want to destroy the true soul in the nascent soul, this most extreme and sharp force is more straightforward. Roar. With an unwilling roar, the nascent soul of the Blood River Patriarch suddenly turned into blood and water, and a crystal clear blood light drilled out of it, and was about to drill into Li Quanqing's Niwen palace. The cultivator took over the body! Exclamation mark. Li Quanqing was immediately shocked. Although he was now comparable to the magic power of the nascent soul, his soul was still weak, only at the level of a giant and cultivator. The only thing that made him feel at ease was that he had the golden finger by his side, hidden deep in his true spirit. Perhaps even immortals would find it difficult to take over his body. Bang! Exclamation mark. The speed of the bloodlight was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it crossed a distance of more than 10 miles, and even used the power of space shuttle to hit Li Quanqing's head. Unexpectedly, the Whale King's holy armor radiated brilliance, and the azure glow was diffused, which was like a layer of crystal-like shell, directly blocking the Blood River ancestor from the outside. This holy armor can actually resist the attack of the soul. Li Quanqing was overjoyed, and no longer hesitated. The empty scissors in his palm trembled slightly, turning into silver light and drilling out, as fast as lightning. With a scream, the true spirit of the Blood River ancestor was annihilated inch by inch, the soul dissipated, and the entire Yuanying was split into several petals. The vigorous breath of life dissipated. This time he should be really dead. Li Quanqing's eyes suddenly moved, penetrating the silver-white empty battlefield, and looking at the boundless sea outside. As the nascent soul cultivator fell, the heaven and earth felt it, lightning and thunder, and a blood-red torrential rain fell, like the sky crying and wailing. Seeing this strange sight, Li Quanqing's heart suddenly fell to the ground, and then a feeling of fatigue surged into his heart. This battle seemed to take a short time, but for him, he dared not relax his mind every second, and he was always tense in his head, for fear of capsizing in the gutter. At this time, it was finally over, a great success, and the crisis was resolved. It was also at the moment when the Blood River Patriarch fell, in an extremely distant and unfamiliar sea. The sea water was scarlet, and the bones sank and floated, turning into an ancient demon gate, which was the location of the Blood River sect. The essence of heaven and earth flourished, and blood-colored flames burned on the sea. Deep in the demon sect, there was a deep hole with heavy curtains, which looked very dark. There were terrible torture instruments hanging everywhere, and bloodstains. This was the residence of the first true disciple of the Blood River sect. His strength was the great perfection of the golden core, and it was rumored that he had the appearance of a nascent soul. Unlike other sects, the entire Zhu sect, except for the Zhu Patriarch, is made up of his disciples. There is no sect master, no elders, and no hall masters. Those with the strongest strength can be called the Zhu true disciples, who have great power, and are extremely fierce in the sect. At this time, the Zhu true disciples who were in seclusion suddenly let out a scream, and a huge red light emanated from the deepest part of his flesh and blood, like a blood lotus blooming, and his face was extremely painful. Blood God resurrection method. When? No. Don't. With the screams coming to an abrupt end, this body has changed its owner, and the Blood God has resurrected. Ancestor. Have I been killed again? The Zhu Patriarch opened his eyes and sighed faintly, looking quite helpless. This was just a part of his true spirit, that he had divided in advance, transformed into the Blood God Son, and hidden deep in the flesh and blood of these true disciples. He only had the memory before the true spirit was cut, so he didn't remember how he fell this time, let alone the battle with Li Quanqing. When was the last time I was resurrected? It seems to have been more than 200 years. I finally cultivated to the middle stage of the nascent soul, but all my magic power was wasted. Now I have to start all over again, and break the pill, to become a nascent soul. Old ancestor, I'm really unlucky. I'm so cautious. It seems that I still need to be cautious in the future, and be a little more cautious. People are treacherous, and the cultivators outside are too dangerous. The Blood River ancestor moved this new body, and the magic power surged around him. He began to control this golden pill with extremely skilled movements. He did not delay, and walked out of the hall directly, ready to inquire about the news, and find someone to find out who the enemy was who he had provoked this time. Then he prepared to leave the Blood River sect to avoid the limelight and restore his nascent soul cultivation. Otherwise, if the enemy suddenly attacked and destroyed the entire Blood River sect, wouldn't he be miserable? Of course, before leaving, he also needed to pack up the sect's treasure house and take it away, so as not to benefit those little demons and turn against Xiangang. King Gaiu Cave Heaven. Li Quanqing walked out of the battlefield in the void, looking at the sea and sun covered by blood rain outside. He couldn't help but let out a long sigh, a smile on his face. Suddenly, a violent sonic boom was heard at the end of the distant sky, followed by a strong breath sweeping over, and the sky was full of starlight, filling the field of vision. Obviously, it was the Yuanying's engine of the Xingqian sect who arrived at a very fast speed, and he probably set off as soon as he got the news. It's so urgent. It must be the Gengjin of the Xingqian sect, who has a generous personality, hates evil, and is determined to destroy all the demon monks in the world. Li Quanqing sorted out his words in his mind, and then he saw a tall figure, stepping on the starlight, and his magic power was as deep as the sea. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 365, Reopening the Undersea Passage. Between heaven and earth, dazzling starlight bloomed, and the day star appeared, turning into an ancient star rumbling and rotating, with unparalleled heavenly power. Gengjin came here, looking like a heroic young man, about 30 years old, with a tall and majestic body and a righteous spirit. Although he has only been a baby for 100 years, his magic power fluctuations are not inferior to those old monsters. Starlight is wrapped around his body, turning into strands of Taoist marks. The sky is crying. Looking at the blood rain pouring down from the sky, lightning and thunder, and the howling wind. Gengjin saw this scene, and was stunned in place, with an incredible feeling in his heart. You killed the old demon in zoo? He looked at the young man in armor in front of him, full of vigor and vitality, much younger than he imagined, but he already had such a record. Thank you for coming from afar and helping us. The Gengjin Li family is grateful. Now that the old demon zoo has been killed, please come to my humble home and toast to express your gratitude. Li Quanqing made his own invitation. Since they came to fight against the demon monks, they should always treat them to a meal. After all, they will have to deal with the Xingqian sect in the future. Gengjin looked at the Whale Emperor holy armor that Li Quanqing was wearing, and then looked at the 4th level formation that covered the entire Gengjin cave heaven. In the end, he didn't have the courage to step into this dragon's den and refused politely. Although my friend is young and has not yet achieved the Yuanying Dao, he is already good enough to be friends with us on an equal footing. It's a pity to live in a corner. Do you have the ambition to be promoted to a Yuanying clan? Gengjin asked. It can be seen that he really admired the young man in front of him. When Gengjin was a child, he lost his clan members and parents because of the rampage of the demon monks. Therefore, he hated evil and vowed to kill all the demons in the world. Therefore, when he learned that Li Quanqing had killed the Blood River Patriarch, his attitude became more friendly, and he did not hesitate to express his appreciation. The nascent soul clan. Li Quanqing shook his head slightly, not at all moved. Thank you for your kindness, true lord, but my Li family is weak after all, and there are not many cultivators. Now the sea area under our control has reached its limit. We really don't have the luxury of expanding outward. This is not a lie. 100 years ago, the Gengjin Li family was just a foundation building family, with only the old patriarch, a foundation building cultivator, struggling to support it. Now that it has been promoted to a giant family, it has only been 60 years. It is really beyond its ability to make another leap and become a nascent soul clan. The development of a family requires time to settle down its foundation. If it takes too big a step, it is easy to have various problems, which is not worth the loss. Of course, Li Quanqing said this to dispel some of the other parties' concerns. After all, the Xingqian sect is a nascent soul sect. Although it is a righteous path, it is not yet generous enough to share territory and resources with other cultivators. The only word on the road to immortal cultivation is competition. Well, I'll come to celebrate when you are promoted to the nascent soul stage. Gengjin smiled faintly. From beginning to end, he did not show any hostility. He was worthy of the character of a righteous master. The phantom of the stars rumbled, and he left again just like when he came. He stepped on the bright starlight and turned into a bridge of a road, spanning thousands of miles, coming and going freely. Li Quanqing watched him disappear at the end of his sight, and then he completely relaxed. Then, the 5-element ceiling heaven array behind him roared, cracked, and his figure instantly drilled into it. Quanqing, you are really too good to be true. That is the old demon of the nascent soul. Li Quanqing was surrounded by lightning, and the sword energy was like a rainbow. He looked him up and down, and finally breathed a sigh of relief. I said, I have enough confidence. Now even if other Yuanying's engine come to attack, we can deal with them with this 4th level formation. Li Quanqing took off his armor and revealed his face again. His momentum suddenly dropped from the Yuanying realm. He felt empty and his body was still a little uncomfortable. Golden elixir versus the Yuanying. You kid, it's really amazing. You have the appearance of a god. Li Quanqing stood by and was amazed. He never thought that the boy who asked him for advice on refining weapons would grow up to be such a behemoth now. He is now condensing a fake elixir, and his appearance is much younger. His body is burly, like an iron tower, and the flames around him burn the void, giving people a great pressure. It's a pity that your family is holding you back. If Quanqing was born in a Yuanying sect, perhaps there would not be so many burdens. Beside Li Quanqing, a large tripod glowed, and the divine light roared, condensing into Li Zhangyao's incense body, filled with a divine majesty. Now the Li family is very prosperous, and the old patriarch has been promoted to the 7th grade god of the Gengjin realm, and his strength is strong enough. Li Quanqing doesn't think so. The family has its advantages, and the sect has its disadvantages, including intrigue, conflicts of interest, and numerous factions. It is better to be united like a family. Moreover, he has relied on his own golden fingers to practice until now, and he doesn't care much about various external things such as cultivation resources. Li Zhangyao was surrounded by golden divine light, which seemed very grand and magnificent. There was regret in his words. Fortunately, the one who came this time is Zenmo's engine, who is upright. If it is the Xingqian patriarch who has lived for nearly 1,000 years, he might fight you for the sake of the sect. So, how should the family develop next? Everyone looked at each other, and for a while, they were also quite entangled. The current giant and combat power of the Li family, but the few people present, is really not enough to be promoted to the Yuanying clan. Moreover, although the Xingqian sect is a famous and upright sect, will they watch them grow and encroach on their territory? The news of this war will definitely spread out, which is good for our Li family. Perhaps we can make those nearby Gengjin sects surrender without much effort. Our Li family is not greedy for more. We will develop step by step. We will first secretly occupy 100,000 miles of sea area. This is almost the limit. We need to continue to vigorously cultivate the cultivators in the clan. From today on, Quanqing, you should not leave Qingyu Cave Heaven, lest some great cultivators covet the treasure armor on your body and secretly attack you. It is better to stay in the family, guard by the formation, and practice with peace of mind. The old patriarch has lived a long life, and has seen a lot. He proposed several development strategies. The real Yuanying level forces all command 1,000,000 miles of sea area, extending from the Zhangzhou continent to the depths of the East China Sea, which is vast and boundless. Their Li family secretly occupied 100,000 miles, which is already a bit full and needs to be digested slowly. Li Quanqing has no objection to these development strategies, but he also has his own ideas. How about we reopen the undersea secret passage? It leads directly to the outer sea human demon battlefield, which is now the territory of the 4 Seas sect. We can seek the protection of the 4 Seas sect. Once the secret passage is opened, it will instantly travel hundreds of thousands of miles, and will surely start a prosperous cross-sea trade. With the protection of the 4 Seas sect, my Li family will not only be able to develop vigorously, but also deter the Xingqian sect from making any mistakes. Chapter 366, Star-Lord. Li Quanqing slowly opened his mouth and told his plan to open the underwater space tunnel that he had closed with his own hands. The Qingyu Li family has a close relationship with the Sihei sect. They can pretend to be the descendants of the Zhenhe inheritance. I believe that the Sihei sect will not refuse the surrender of a quasi-nascent soul force. With the addition of a third party, the Xingqian sect is a righteous sect after all, so they will not tear their faces openly. The three-legged tripod, the most stable relationship in the world, is the triangle. The two major nascent soul sects restrain each other and are wary of each other, which can leave the temporarily weakly family with plenty of time to develop. This is feasible. The old patriarchs looked at each other. When two tigers fight, there will be casualties, not to mention that their Li family is still the weaker one. But if they attract a stronger tiger, or they have a close relationship with their Li family, and are naturally close, then there will be a lot of room for operation. Without further ado, Li Quanqing set out immediately, and led them to the underwater space secret passage, and prepared to open it. The deep sea water was surging, cold and dark, and the silver white light could be seen flashing vaguely, turning into an undersea current running towards the distance, boundless. This was something left behind by the Xiandao in the past. It spanned the entire East China Sea, and could quickly cross hundreds of thousands or millions of miles, which was equivalent to a teleportation array. After Li Quanqing broke through the Jiandan, he took Li Kunlun to explore, and found that the end of this undersea secret passage was the remains of the Xian River. Later, in order to prevent the Jiandan monster from sneaking across and causing huge losses to the Li family, he took the initiative to close this space secret passage. Now that the Li family is strong enough and has enough confidence, it is in urgent need of development and seeking protection. It is a good time to open this undersea secret passage. Li Quanqing took out the Xian order, and the Danshan Jiandan rotated, spewing out the purest Xian mana and pouring it into the token. The next moment, the Xian order trembled slightly, emitting an invisible ripple, and easily gained control of this undersea space secret passage. It must be said that the former Xiandao was really powerful. The teleportation method left behind is still running intact even after hundreds of thousands of years. Even no later generations can imitate it, which shows its profound foundation. Open! Li Quanqing shouted loudly, waving the Xian order in his hand and banging it down. Suddenly, he saw endless silver light blooming in the ocean currents on the seabed. The void twisted, turned into a whirlpool-like shape, and revived strong spatial fluctuations. This is not enough. If the 4C sect wants to discover this space secret passage, it will probably take a long time. Li Kunlun saw the shortcomings. After all, which cultivator would go into the deep seabed for fun? Then we will take the initiative to attack and lure the 4C sect cultivators to come and discover this invaluable space tunnel. The old patriarch smiled slightly, and he was already looking for candidates in his mind, ready to send several Li family members over and expose himself. Li Quanqing didn't say anything. He didn't need to worry about these things at all. What he should do now is to practice in seclusion in the family. Qingyu Cave Heaven, beside the fish pond. Li Quanqing sat cross-legged on the embankment. He was so busy that he could not help but feel tired after completing several important tasks. Fortunately, now that he had done what he should do, he could rest assured and focus on the nascent Soul Avenue. He took out the battlefield in the void, and a silver light flashed, and then a blood-colored magic light bloomed, turning into a nascent soul that was split into several petals. The blood river spread out and surged. This is a nascent soul true lord, whose whole body is condensed with energy and spirit. It is equivalent to the crystallization of the Dao for hundreds of years, and is extremely precious. But as for how to use it, and what it can be used for, Li Quanqing was confused and lacked information in this regard. He tried to throw this nascent soul to his own spirit beasts for observation. If it can be used as animal food, it can be regarded as a very good use. Unfortunately, both Aoking and Long Yandao were not interested, and found it difficult to swallow. They were very disgusted by the spicy and stimulating blood river magic. Not to mention the noble blood monsters like the void butterfly and the mysterious ice phoenix, which were full of disdain, and had never even eaten meat. It seems that for the time being, it's useless. Li Quanqing shook his head, took out a jade box, sealed the blood river yuanying in it, and carefully put it away. The blood river ancestor was also ruthless. Not only did his life spirit treasure explode, but all other treasures he carried with him also self-destructed. It was really a devilish style. Only a pile of broken copper and iron was left, piled up in the void battlefield, which was also a rare treasure. After completing all this, he did not waste time, but took out the Xianai pill and held it in his mouth, absorbing the spiritual energy in the sky, and fell into practice. When the spirit vein was promoted to the 4th level, he would even take the initiative to practice, hoping to polish the golden pill to perfection as soon as possible and try to form a baby. What's more, the battle with the Yuanying made him gain a lot and benefited a lot. Now is the time to summarize his practice, and many thoughts emerged in his mind. Time passed in a flash, and several days passed. On this day, the sea was surging, the sky was cloudless, the sun was high in the sky, it was the best season, and the sea was shining with golden light. Two nascent soul cultivators came on the stars, surrounded by mysterious and brilliant starlight, powerful mana waves overflowing, and the wind and clouds changed color. Uncle Master, do you really have to meet that kid? One of them was Zenmo Zenjin, with a tall and majestic figure, a helpless smile on his face, and a bit of dissatisfaction. Humph. If there were no cultivators in the sect reporting to me, how long would you have kept it secret from me? Golden Dan fought against Nascent Soul, such an amazing record. Even in ancient times, it was also a seed of transformation. Such a proud child of heaven. Naturally I have to meet him. The starlight was diffused, revealing an old man with a fairy-like appearance. His face was calm and deep after experiencing vicissitudes, and his eyes seemed to hide endless star power, as if he could see through everything in the world. The Star Master held a whisk in his hand, and his robe embroidered with galaxy patterns fluttered. The star patterns on his robe flickered and moved like living things, representing his research and exploration of the heavenly star avenue. Thousands of years ago, this Star Master was a favored son of heaven, and had personally experienced the great reclamation of the East China Sea. Now, after years, his cultivation has become even more unfathomable, wise, and powerful. Upon hearing this, the Demon Suppression Master could only smile bitterly. He knew too well the character of this Uncle Master, who was strict and old-fashioned. Now that his lifespan was about to end, he would not allow any cultivator to overthrow the power and rule of the Star Sect. The best result would be to invite the young friend of the Li family to join the Star Sect and give him the false title of the Supreme Elder. Of course, perhaps a heavenly Deo contract would have to be signed to avoid being enemies with the Star Sect in the future. After all, in the eyes of the Star Master, even if he could kill the nascent soul, he was just a golden core cultivator. As long as he had not broken the elixir and became a nascent soul, no matter how strong his combat power was, he could not be on equal terms with the nascent soul masters. It's a pity. You should have taken action directly that day to test the confidence of this kid. It's a pity, Zenmo, you are still too upright. I'm really worried about you taking control of the sect in the future. Gengjin Zenjin started to talk a lot. Even the old monks became very nagging. While talking, the two had arrived at the Qingyu Sea and headed straight for the Li family's land. At this time, the submarine secret passage suddenly emitted a buzzing sound, followed by the moonlight of the moon, and a powerful aura of the nascent soul level also descended. Chapter 367. People from all over the world. Qingyu Sea. 3 nascent soul auras permeated thousands of miles, colliding and interweaving with each other, instantly revealing each other's identities, and the powerful pressure made all spirits tremble. Fairy Taiyin from the 4C sect? A hint of surprise emerged on the old face of Gengjin Zenjin, and an uneasy premonition suddenly arose in his heart. There are only so many nascent soul cultivators in the East China Sea. Everyone knows each other very well. So you are 2 Taoist friends from Gengjin sect. It seems that these little guys are right. This is indeed the land of the inner sea. It's really a surprise. Taiyin Zenjin has a cold temperament and a beautiful face. She wears a moon-white long dress like cloud gauze, outlining her exquisite curves and slender ankles. She had a happy look between her eyebrows, and with a wave of her white hand, she immediately pulled out several key refining cultivators from behind. They were the members of the Li family who had passed through the submarine secret passage before. Fairy, please tell me more. Gengjin Zenjin's attitude was very polite. After all, Sihei sect was the first sect in the East China Sea, with 5 nascent soul cultivators. Old Gengjin, you are too polite. Taiyin Zenjin's words were also gentle, and the moonlight was all over his body, like a fairy from the moon palace returning home on the wind. Although the Gengjin patriarch in front of him was not good looking, he was also a ruthless man in the past. He had killed a 4th level demon with his own hands, and suppressed a nascent soul demon to death. Now that his lifespan is coming to an end, his cultivation and magic power are becoming more and more unfathomable. I'm afraid that he has already broken through the late nascent soul realm. Deep in the sea here, there is a submarine space tunnel that can instantly travel nearly 1,000,000 miles to the outer sea, right next to the Xianhedao ruins. Taiyin Zenjin did not think of hiding it. After all, Qinghai Sea was the territory of Xingqian sect. If he wanted to develop cross-sea trade in the future, he would need the help of the other party. The two true lords of Xingqian sect were shocked. As they waved their sleeves, their powerful nascent soul mana surged out. In an instant, the vast ocean rolled back and rushed straight to the sky. The nearby sea area was directly split in the middle, and the boundless sea water rushed up to the sky, revealing the silver-white void passage. Sure enough, it must be the transmission channel left by Shai and Dao back then. Xingqian and Zhenmo, the two nascent soul cultivators, looked at each other and instantly understood the huge benefits contained in it, which was no less than a super large spiritual stone vein. The 4C sect occupied the outer sea and tried to open the Cheyenne ruins again. By the way, they swept through the monsters and explored many unknown seas, discovering countless mineral deposits and precious treasures. But at the same time, they were under great pressure. They were the first line facing the counterattack of the monsters, and they had to consume a large amount of talismans and elixirs every day. If this submarine secret passage is used properly, it can instantly connect the inner sea and the outer sea, and even exchange resources between the mainland and the depths of the East China Sea. The source of wealth is rolling in, which is exciting. With this submarine secret passage, it will be very convenient to cross hundreds of thousands of miles of sea to hunt monsters in the open sea, which will attract many casual cultivators. Even if they guard this space tunnel and collect rent, they will get a lot of spiritual stones. Several Yuanian great cultivators have foreseen that this place will become a shining pearl of the entire East China Sea in the future. It will even become a link between the mainland and the open sea. Opening this submarine secret passage for all East China Sea and mainland cultivators to use is really a great thing for the entire human race, and it can even speed up the speed of opening up the monster sea area. I believe that the two Taoist friends will not hinder the common progress of the entire East China Sea cultivation world and hundreds of millions of cultivators, right? Tian Zhenjin's voice was very crisp and pleasant, but it was final, with unquestionable tyranny, directly indicating the attitude of the 4C sect. About this matter, I naturally agree very much. But although this sea area belongs to our Xingqian sect, the Gengjin family that occupies this place is also quite extraordinary. I'm afraid they will get a share of it. Xingqian Zhenjin chose his words carefully. He was already very wary of Li Quanqing. He could fight Yuanying with Gengjin, and the probability of breaking down and becoming a baby in the future was very high. Now that they have encountered this pie in the sky, they are about to start cross-sea trade and gather many resources. The rise of the entire Li family is unstoppable. It can be predicted that perhaps within 200 years, a Yuanying clan will really emerge and split the territory and resources of Xingqian sect. How can I let others sleep soundly beside my bed? But, Dao, are you referring to the Qinghai Li family? I have heard from these juniors that the head of their Li family is suspected to have broken through the Yuanying realm. Tian Zhenjin glanced at the Li family's key training clan members behind him. How could these guys know about the Gengjin attacking the Yuanying? They just saw their ancestor beat an old demon to death, and that was a real Yuanying master. It's not the formation of the infant, but something more against the will of heaven, with infinite potential and the appearance of a god. Zhenmo Zhenjin had seen Li Quanqing with his own eyes, and had a great liking for him. Naturally, he helped to speak at this time. Friend Tian, why don't you come with us to the Li family? I will tell you in detail on the way. The three Zhenjin came together, controlling the strong wind and clouds, and Zumi arrived, but it was enough to explain the cause and effect clearly. A Gengjin beat the old Yuanying demon of the Zhu sect to death. Such a natural talent. Tian Zhenjin walked in the clouds, looking at the dazzling formation in front of him with 5 colored lotus blooming, array patterns interweaving, and blocking the world. His eyes suddenly glowed with strange colors. Unlike the Xingqian sect, their Sahei sect and the Qinghai Li clan have no interest in each other. It is entirely possible to use the Cheyenne inheritance as bait, to absorb this young water spirit root and the pride of heaven into the 4C sect. This kind of incarnation of the spirit can only emerge once every 10,000 years, which is enough to be recorded in history. Although the world is broken now, the Tao is incomplete, and it is difficult to break through the incarnation realm, but being able to have one more Yuanying great perfection cultivator can also be regarded as the foundation of the sect. This is the Li family's land, called Qinghai Cave Heaven, which was once the relic inheritance of the ancient sect Whale Emperor sect. Zenmo Zenjin introduced. Before coming here, he had already investigated the rise of the Li family clearly. Whale Emperor sect is also one of the many inheritance sects under the Cheyenne Dao. It seems that this child is destined to be with our 4C sect. As soon as Tian Zenjin said this, Xingqian Patriarch changed his color slightly and heard the deep meaning. This 5-element formation is quite extraordinary. It is actually a 4th level formation that forbids heaven and earth and is incredibly powerful. The three were looking at this lotus formation when they suddenly saw the entrance to the Qinghai Cave Heaven. A young man in a water blue Taoist robe slowly appeared. His posture was as straight as a pine tree, and he was surrounded by a faint fairy aura, and his aura was as unfathomable as the vast ocean. Li Quanqing, the patriarch of the Qinghai Li family, greets the three great virtuous masters who have come from afar. Li Quanqing smiled slightly, looking at them across the formation, neither humble nor arrogant, and full of confidence. Behind him, the Whale King's holy armor emerged, accompanied by the melodious dragon roar, and the magic power around him rose steadily, breaking directly into the nascent soul realm, competing with several people. Chapter 368, Hanuling. Across the aura of the formation, Tian Zenjin raised his eyebrows slightly, and suddenly said with some surprise, "It turns out to be you. I have seen you several times before. It is really fate." Decades ago, she was invited by Cheyenne Lang Zenjin to go to the Beastmaster sect to participate in the dragon transformation ceremony and visit the opening of the treasure Cheyenne Lang Tower. On the way, she stopped at the sea area, ascended to the 9 heavens to refine the moonlight of the moon, condensed the spirit liquid to practice, and improved her Taoism. That night, Li Quanqing once mistakenly entered her Tian domain, noticed something unusual, and fled away at high speed. But even so, she still saw through his background, which was a lineage of inheritance from the Cheyenne Dao. Later in the Beastmaster sect, Tian Zenjin also witnessed Dao King's excellent performance with his own eyes. It was a rare Tian spirit beast, so he was quite impressed. "Thank you Zenjin for remembering it. Quanqing is very grateful." Li Quanqing smiled slightly and inadvertently revealed a wisp of mana fluctuations, which was the purest inheritance of Zhenhe. Such a pure sea-suppressing power, in line with the great Dao of Cheyenne IE. This boy's really destined to be with our 4C sect. I must bring him in and add another great cultivator to our sect. Tian Zenjin thought secretly, his eyes moving, his thoughts surging, and he couldn't help but feel happy. This trip not only ensured that the submarine secret passage could be used to reach the prosperous inner sea, but also found a Yuan great perfection seed for the sect. It was really a double happiness. Seeing this, Xingqian Zenjin next to him couldn't help but sighed, feeling extremely regretful. He was old and experienced, and had lived for countless years. Naturally, he could see the breath of Cheyenne Dao's magic power on Li Quanqing. Now with the support of the 4C sect, it seems that the Qinghai Li family will be promoted to a Yuanying clan in the future. It is a foregone conclusion. In the future, their Xingqian sect may face considerable challenges, but fortunately, cross-sea trade is about to start. As long as the cake is made big enough, it can support the two Yuanying forces and coexist peacefully. Li Quanqing saw the changes in everyone's expressions. This development was naturally in line with his wishes. As for opening up cross-sea trade, the huge profits would be taken by Xingqian sect and Sehei sect, and there was nothing he could do about it. Did Li Xiaoyao deliberately send his clansmen to the underwater space tunnel left by the Cheyenne Road? Tian Zenjin was very smart and thoughtful. He saw the Li family's plan at a glance, wanting to get the protection of their Sehei sect. That's right. This underwater secret passage has huge benefits. It can be said that it is related to the East China Sea's Yuxan world's plan to open up wasteland. My Li family is willing to share it with all the Zenjin seniors. Good. Tian Zenjin nodded in agreement, with a stunning smile on his face. My Sehei sect supports my decision, and can even provide enough protection before the Qinghai Li family is truly promoted to the Yuanying sect, so that my friends can practice with peace of mind. Thank you for your kindness, senior. The Li family is grateful. Li Quanqing was very satisfied. No matter what the result was, at least the attitude of the Sehei sect made people feel comfortable. He still remembered that the immortal elder of Dao specifically told him to become a high-level official of Sahei sect, take over and take back the immortal tripod. At this point, Gengjin Zenjin had no choice but to admit the status of King Gaiu Li family and treat them as a half-nascent soul family. Zenmo Zenjin was already very fond of him and was also happy for him at this time. He was indeed a righteous cultivator, open and above board. After the three families reached a consensus to coexist peacefully and not invade each other, they naturally began to discuss how to develop this submarine secret passage. When it came to this, Li Quanqing naturally said less and listened more. Their Li family was the weakest, and it was already very good to get a share. It was enough for the whole family to eat and become fat, and their strength would reach a new level. In the end, everyone decided to build a sea immortal city at the entrance of the space tunnel, calling on the four directions to become another prosperous place in the inner sea. As for the name of the immortal city, Gengjin Patriarch naturally refused to give in and insisted on naming it after his own sect. The Sahei sect didn't have to fight for it. After all, they could build another Sahei fairy city at the exit of the other end of the submarine tunnel. Li Quanqing would naturally not agree. He was still waiting for himself to break through the nascent soul in the future and completely control this fairy city. How could he give it to others? This is his own territory. So under the argument of Taiyuan Zenjin, Gengjin Patriarch pinched his nose and finally took a character from the Li family and Gengjin sect, named Qingshan Fairy City. It sounds okay. Although Qingshan Fairy City has been initially finalized, there is nothing in that sea area now, only an empty submarine tunnel. So several nascent souls decided to work together to move mountains and seas, open up a spiritual island to suppress the earth veins, and at the same time, use it as the site of the fairy city. After the preliminary division of many interests, the atmosphere among everyone was naturally much more harmonious and no longer tense. Li Quanqing had a smile on his face. He would not step out of the family, and he would not have to work hard to shape the island earth veins in the future. But this is the Li family sea area, which is very close to the Qinghai cave heaven, only a few thousand miles away, which is equivalent to sitting back and enjoying the fruits of others' labor. Of course, when it becomes prosperous in the future, the benefits will be attractive, and naturally it will also need a strong strength to suppress the immortal city. If I'm not mistaken, the armor and spiritual treasure of my friend is suspected to be related to the heavy water inheritance. Taiyuan Zenjin looked at the Azure Whale Emperor Holy Armor and was also quite interested. This is a powerful spiritual treasure that can make giant and cultivators comparable to Yuan Ying. That's right, this is what I got from the Cheyenne ruins when they were unearthed. Li Quanqing did not hide it and even took the initiative to speak, mentioning that he had entered the Cheyenne road to confuse people. When the monster tribe beast tide came, the Cheyenne ruins were opened, and there were too many cultivators who entered it. If Li Quanqing said that he had never been in, it would arouse suspicion, so it would be better to be false and true. He activated the magical power of the flesh, and black heavy water spiritual patterns appeared on the surface of his skin, which were heavier than the stars. I see. If Brother Changshu sees such an excellent cultivator like you, he will definitely pull you into a pure physical cultivation inheritance. Taiyuan Zenjin kept this in mind, but he didn't care too much. There are 5 Yuan Ying cultivators in Sahei sect, among which Zenhei, Taiyuan and Changshu represent the direct lineage of Cheyenne. Sahei Zenjin is the sect master, with a high position and power. Cheyenne Zenjin is in charge of the immortal tripod, and his identity is also special. He is the young sect master appointed by the emperor. After the benefits were divided, several Zenjins said goodbye. There are still many preparations to be made, and the Li family also needs to mobilize. Li Quanqing did not invite them to enter the Qinghai cave heaven. It was enough to chat across the formation. He really didn't dare to let the Yuan Ying cultivator in, for fear of accidents, and going back on his word. He didn't really relax until he saw the 3 people really leave. Now that the family is stable and the crisis is settled, he can also practice steadily and try to break through the Yuan Ying avenue. It will be soon. It will only take a few decades at least. I can really take the last step and break the pill and become an infant. The character of Taiyuan Zenjin is not bad. She suggested before that some of the younger generations of the family can be sent to the 4C sect to practice. It is indeed a good suggestion. Li Quanqing's mind was surging. Although the Xingqian sect no longer suppressed the Li family openly, it was necessary to maintain a good relationship with the 4C sect. Time flowed quietly, and in the blink of an eye, several months had passed. The news that Li Quanqing killed the Yuanying demon gradually spread, and there were rumors that he was promoted to a Yuanying clan. In the Hanhei Bowl, another Gengjin monster quietly broke through, accumulating enough foundation, and the wind and snow whistled all over the sky. Harvest a Gengjin middle stage Zuanming Ice Phoenix, and reward the 4th level soul secret treasure Hanyu Bell. Right square bracket. Chapter 369. Monster Potential. Vast sea cave, snowy island. Snowflakes were flying all over the sky, and ice mist was everywhere. With a long cry from the ice phoenix monster, it fluttered its wings and set off a freezing snowstorm. Since it broke out of its shell, this little phoenix has been staying in the bowl cave and rarely goes out. It can be said to be a veritable home beast. The wind and snow were howling, and the demonic energy was rolling. This breakthrough was a natural result, and it easily broke through the small bottleneck and entered the middle stage of the golden core. A burst of mysterious cold air burst out, sweeping from the ice and snow palace at the top of the island. The cold air was so cold that it instantly condensed a large area of seawater into ice. Snowflakes were falling all over the sky, and a snow leopard with a big and wide tail was running on the island with all its strength to avoid being frozen into an ice sculpture by the power of the mysterious power, and it let out bursts of roars. Seeing this, Li Quanqing couldn't help laughing. He raised his hand and turned the world over and took the snow leopard stepping on the cloud and stroked its big furry head. Since this guy followed Bingfeng and lived on this snowdust island, he has been tempered by the cold air day and night and has gained a lot of benefits, and his bloodline has evolved. As early as several years ago, he successfully broke through the foundation and was rewarded with a long ice spear, which he casually threw into the Kyankan bracelet to eat dust. The cold wind whistled, making a whirring sound, and the snow was everywhere, covering the sky and the sun. There were ice chips everywhere, spinning like sharp blades. The cold air was enough to easily freeze the foundation cultivator to death. When the overflowing demonic energy gradually subsided, the blizzard that enveloped the entire island gradually dissipated, and the snowdust ice field reappeared. Li Quanqing then set out to this island, stepped on the hard ice layer, and walked towards the palace at the highest point. The cold air was pressing, and the ice pillars were crystal clear. The entire ice palace was built by Zuanming Phoenix himself. Perhaps it was affected by the personality before Nirvana, and it seemed a little lonely. Cry. Deep in the ice palace, an ice blue phoenix sat on the throne. Its feathers spread out, its body was as huge as a foot, and its pupils were as pale as snow. It held its head high, its phoenix crown open, like a shining gem on an ice peak. Magnificent, its huge wings gently flapped, leaving a long ice blue track, elegant and agile. A blue-black air current surged here, freezing the world, withering everything, as if it was the concrete manifestation of the great way of ice, and the cold air penetrated deep into the bone marrow. Even Li Quanqing, who was in close contact with this power, couldn't help shivering, and a layer of frost spread on his eyebrows. This guy, couldn't he have awakened the memory of his previous life? Looking at this extremely elegant, cold and noble, awe-inspiring phoenix monster in front of him, Li Quanqing couldn't help but have a glimmer of speculation in his heart. But the next moment, he realized that he was still overthinking. With an intimate cry, the little phoenix's eyes instantly became smart, like pure crystal, revealing the kind of purest ignorance and simplicity that has not been polluted by the world. So Li Quanqing was completely relieved, and all the doubts in his mind disappeared. Harvest a Gengjin middle stage Zuanming Ice Phoenix, and reward a 4th level soul secret treasure Hanyu Bell. Hanyu Bell, a soul secret treasure of the nascent soul level, guarding the sea of consciousness, strengthening the true spirit, can prevent being seized by powerful cultivators, and also has a miraculous effect on the illusion of the heart demon. This is an extremely rare soul secret treasure, and it can also fight against the nascent soul heart demon, so it is naturally very useful. Li Quanqing recalled the last battle against the Blood River ancestor. At the last moment, the soul demon actually wanted to take over his body with the power of the nascent soul. After all, since the key refining practice, his soul power, although powerful, is not weaker than the cultivators of the same level, but not strong enough to fight across levels. Li Quanqing took away the light ball and took out several ice-attributed pills to feed the little phoenix. This guy is also one of the few spirit beasts that he is most worried about. His bloodline is extremely powerful. Even if he does not need to swallow the treasures of heaven and earth, he is very likely to be promoted to the 4th level demon in the future. After visiting the ice palace, Li Quanqing walked in the vast sea cave heaven. It has been a while since he personally visited these islands in the sea. He usually observes with his soul. In addition to the Snowdust Island, there is also the Red Dragon Island occupied by the Dragon Flame Eagle and the Fish Dragon Island occupied by the Wind and Thunder Python King. Each of them has a top grade spirit stone buried. Li Quanqing was also puzzled when he mentioned this. He was promoted to the Golden Core for a shorter time, and he did not travel around. The resources of the Green Jade Sea are extremely barren. Now the Kyankan bracelet is still filled with middle grade spirit stones, which are not as useful as the 4th level spirit veins for cultivation. Top grade spirit stones are hard to find, and many are in the hands of Yuan Ying cultivators, who use them for barter. As for the top grade spirit stones, now that the world is broken, and the Dao is incomplete, they are already legendary treasures. Li Quanqing was walking on Yulang Island. What he was most concerned about now were naturally the two guys, the wooden peacock and the jade unicorn beast. Under Ao King's teaching, the wooden peacock had learned the human language and began to study the 5 Spirits Sutra that was inherited from the nascent soul, exploring the power deep in his blood. The jade unicorn beast was a little heartless. He still played with the golden flame tiger all day long and practiced carelessly. Fortunately, this guy has extraordinary blood and is naturally close to the power of the earth. The probability of condensing a demon pill in the future is very high. As for the dog thing, the golden flame tiger, he only knows how to act cute and go fishing all day long. Now he has been trapped in the middle stage of foundation building for many years, so it's better not to mention it. Just be a mascot peacefully. The queen of the Thunderhorn Python is also limited by potential. Perhaps because she gave birth to too many descendants of the bloodline, her cultivation is also stagnant. Moreover, since the Wind and Thunder Python King broke through the golden elixir, they have not successfully bred offspring for a long time. The bloodline of the golden elixir demon is too rare. As for the remaining golden scale pangolins, white jade sacred elephants, yang iron fish, etc., their potential is even lower, and there is not much hope for them to break through the foundation. On the contrary, the group of rattonwood apes, who are with spiritual medicines all day long, have managed the entire Fish Dragon Island in an orderly manner. The old ape also built a foundation not long ago, and was rewarded with a drop of greenwood spiritual liquid, which contains a lot of vitality of plants and trees. Li Quanqing consumed this drop of spiritual liquid on the lotus seeds of the 5-color treasure lotus, but unfortunately it was a drop in the bucket, and it still failed to revive and sprout. Now that many spiritual beasts have exhausted their potential, maybe we should replace them with another batch. Li Quanqing stepped on the void and flew out of the vast sea bowl, thinking in his heart, with his current strength, only those powerful bloodline monsters that can break through the golden elixir can help. Ordinary foundation building monsters are not very useful to raise. You know, even the direct bloodline descendants of the 4th level great monsters have consumed most of their potential to break through the golden elixir. It is impossible to break through the nascent soul with 100% certainty. It can only be said that the probability is relatively high. Every 4th level monster is unique and difficult to replicate. In addition to the strong source of blood, it also needs to go through a lot of hardships, and opportunities and luck are indispensable. Just like the Monster King, the Golden Winged Peng Bird Clan, there are hundreds of tribesmen in each generation, but only 1 or 2 can break through the 4th level. Perhaps only the descendants of the god-transforming monster Venerable can be so powerful that they can easily break through the 4th level nascent soul simply by relying on the power of blood. However, monsters with such powerful bloodlines are extremely rare and precious even within the beast control sect, and they are not passed on to others. If Li Quanqing wants to obtain one, he must go to the Outer Sea Monster Clan in person, carefully search for and capture it, and fight with those nascent soul monsters, so that he can get a blood descendant by chance. but now he is trapped in the Qingyu cave heaven, and it is difficult to take a step forward. He can only issue tasks and let the family pay more attention. Chapter 370 Jinhan's Foundation Building. Sitting cross-legged on the embankment of the fish pond, Li Quanqing crushed the ball of light, revealing a delicate and exquisite little bell, as if it was carved from ice crystals. The shape of the bell is quite unique, as if it is woven from feathers, layered and stacked, and it looks quite strange. A cool and cold breath bloomed out, making people shiver and instantly clear their minds. Li Quanqing's fingertips bloomed with mana, like a thread, and began to refine this treasure, and put his own mark on it. The process has long been familiar. Although he is still in the Jiandan realm, he has too many Yuan Yingling Bao. He can be called a Duo Bao Tangzi, rich as oil. For Li Quanqing, manipulating so many 4th level spiritual treasures is also a test of mana and soul. The use of Yuan Yingling Bao consumes a lot of mana. If you want to communicate with the spirit of the instrument and make the other party surrender, you also need an extremely powerful soul power. But in Li Quanqing's view, he is also enjoying it and regards it as an alternative practice. After spending 2 months, he finally completely refined the Hanyu bell. Infinite runes emerged, shining brightly, and finally disappeared again. With a clear and pleasant bell sound, the entire Hanyu bell turned into a stream of light, drilled into the depths of his Niwen palace, and appeared out of thin air above the sea of consciousness. Yin! Exclamation mark. Li Quanqing looked inward at Niwen, and saw the bright moonlight shining, turning into a Taiyan dragon, lifelike, with ancient characters and symbols engraved on each scale. This was the Taiyan spirit he visualized when practicing the Cheyenne inheritance. It was also the place where the soul was, like a bright moon hanging over the sea of consciousness, illuminating all directions. Li Quanqing opened his eyes, and could see a little soul sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed deep in the body of the Taiyan dragon, extremely mysterious. Ding ding dang dang. Accompanied by the crystal clear bell appearing out of thin air, suspended between the dragon's horns. It instantly rang without wind, and the cold air filled the air. Instantly, a layer of ice crystal feathers emerged, covering the entire surface of the Taiyan dragon, protecting the most important soul body. A majestic dragon with scales, but on its body, it was covered with a layer of ice crystal phoenix feathers, which looked very dreamy. This layer of feathers continued to spread, falling into the sea of consciousness, turning into dots of ice crystals, until it covered the entire Niwen palace, turning into a piece of ice feather pattern that spread, and then disappeared completely. In this way, there is no need to worry about the Yuan cultivator taking over the body. Li Quanqing saw this, and immediately felt a sense of security. When a cultivator takes over the body, he takes over the soul that controls consciousness and self, not the true spirit that represents the existence of the life mark. Like Li Quanqing, if he encounters a strong enemy, his physical body will be destroyed, even if his soul is damaged, but as long as he has a golden elixir left, he can use the true spirit hidden in the golden elixir to nourish his soul again and take over the body for rebirth. True spirits are unique and cannot be taken away by others. They can only be destroyed by force. Only souls can be taken over or merged into one. In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. The construction of Gengjin Immortal City has been completely put on the agenda, and it is planned to build this trade city as soon as possible to relieve the pressure of the 4C sect to resist the demon clan. According to the idea of Taiyan Gengjin and others, they originally planned to move mountains and seas, borrow powerful magic power, artificially create an island of earth veins, and build an immortal city. But after several discussions, they had a better idea. Several Yuan Gengjins are ready to join forces to cross the outer space, capture a powerful spiritual star, and shape it into a sky boat, which will be used as the base camp of the immortal city. Such considerations are naturally for safety. After the establishment of Gengjin Immortal City, it will not only attract the scattered cultivators of the entire inner sea, but also trade between the mainland and the outer sea. Such huge profits naturally require strong military suppression and support, otherwise it would be unworthy of the position. The starry sky boat with strong military suppression is naturally the best choice, coupled with the protection of the formation. Only 3 Jiandan monks are needed to deal with the attacks of dozens of enemies of the same level, and even delay the Yuan great monks for a short time. Li Quanqing naturally had no objection. Anyway, he didn't need to capture the stars, and the Li family couldn't help with the refining of the Cheyennes how later. Just sit back and enjoy the fruits of their labor. However, once Qingchen Xiancheng is truly built and put into use, the Qingyu Li family will be the one under the greatest pressure. Because the Xingchen sect is too far away, and the Sihei sect is also located at the other end of the submarine secret passage, it will take at least half an hour for the Yuanying great monks of these two sects to come to support. Therefore, once there is a Yuanying Zenjin making trouble, especially the guys from the other 4 domains, coveting the huge profits of cross-sea trade, Li Quanqing needs to take over in person. He was prepared for this. According to the agreement, the Li family's Yuanying combat power is responsible for guarding Qingchen Xiancheng and can take 25% of the profits. When Li Quanqing truly breaks the pill and becomes an infant, he will be able to add another 0.5%, taking a full 30% of the profit, equal to the Xingchen sect. For a Jiandan family, this is absolutely unimaginable wealth, enough to make the family develop rapidly. Li Quanqing is quite satisfied with this share ratio. After facing the reality, Xingchen Patriarch also began to show goodwill to him. Sihei sect also strongly supported the development of the Li family, so as to unify the East China Sea cultivation world in the future. In the past few years, rumors about the Qingyu Li family's promotion to the Yuanying clan have gradually spread. The Li family's attitude towards this is naturally neither admitting nor denying, allowing the outside cultivators to speculate. What made Li Quanqing laugh and cry the most was that the group of demon cubs of the Zhu sect actually took the initiative to surrender. The first one officially declared that it recognized the identity of the Qingyu Li family as a Yuanying clan and sent a precious gift, hoping that Patriarch Quanqing would put aside the past grudges and the two families would coexist peacefully. Li Quanqing didn't want to leave his clan now, so he naturally didn't bother to cause trouble for the Zhu clan, leaving it for later. As for the remaining dozen Yuanying clans in the East China Sea, they were all silent and did not express their opinions, pretending that they didn't know about it. On the contrary, the Yuanying clan, Xiangui Fang family, that is, the powerful family that raised a 4th level longevity turtle, took the initiative to show goodwill and was willing to marry the Li family. On this day, in a cave in Qingyu Cave Heaven, a burst of powerful spiritual energy fluctuations suddenly came, turning into ripples and spreading in all directions. Li Jinhan successfully built her foundation. She originally wanted to learn from her senior brother Li Jingui and successfully built her foundation on her own, but she only had a medium-grade spiritual root and finally consumed a foundation building pill. And it also delayed several years, and now she is more than 30 years old. Compared with her, Li Jinlian, who is younger and has better spiritual roots, has already successfully built her foundation, and she only consumed one foundation building spiritual object, which can be called a golden elixir. Your junior sister has successfully broken through. Li Quanqing sat cross-legged on the bank of the fish pond, gently teasing the green jade carp in the water. With just a glance, his spiritual sense saw the movement of the cave. Junior sister is less than 35 years old. Now that her family is developing rapidly, and with the help of the teacher, the probability of her forming a pill in the future is very high. Li Jingui was serving beside her. He had a round figure and smiled innocently when he heard the words, looking quite happy. The bottleneck of forming a pill is too difficult after all. I plan to send her and Jinlian to the 4C sect to broaden their horizons and have a better development. Li Quanqing spoke softly, having already made a decision. For his sake, Taiyin Zenjin would naturally take care of her, and she would not be bullied in the 4C sect. Moreover, he mastered the Cheyenne inheritance, which included many Zenhei scriptures. He had already helped Li Jinhan switch to practicing skills, and there was no trace of the Bahei inheritance. Chapter 371 Qingchen Immortal City. Teacher is thinking about my junior sister with all his heart, and his kindness is as deep as the sea. He will never harm her. Li Jingui has been in charge of the family market with his father for many years, guarding the caravan, and often traveling around. His personality has become much smoother. Hidden under that round face that always smiles is actually a cunning and intelligent heart, and he speaks and acts with great discretion. You have now broken through the late stage of foundation building and are about to complete your cultivation. It is time to put the matter of forming a golden pill on the agenda. When the time comes, the family will do its best to help you. If it fails, I will go there in person and ask for a 5-element golden pill for you. Li Quanqing glanced and easily saw through the cultivation of this eldest disciple. Li Jingui is naturally talented and has a spiritual root talent that is close to the earth grade spiritual root. Now that he has been on the path for 60 years, he has practiced to this point, and with the help of his family, the probability of forming a golden pill in the future is very high. Li Quanfu's lineage is also very lucky. He and Li Quanqing have been close since their key refining period, and now they have produced the most abundant and sweet fruits. I'm afraid that old man Li Quanqing didn't expect that the little kindness he gave in the past could be exchanged for such a rich reward. Li Jingui was very moved when he heard this. Teacher, the avenue of infant formation is the most important. It is related to the prosperity of our Li family for the next 1,000 years. How can you easily step out of the Qinggai cave heaven? It's just a bottleneck in the formation of the golden pill. Even if there is no help from the golden pill spirit, Jingui has the ambition to emulate the teacher and embark on the road of the avenue on his own. Li Quanqing's face was slightly strange. In the end, he didn't tell his apprentice that when he formed the golden pill, he was more extravagant than Li Quanqing. He consumed 2 sets of golden pill spirits. After Li Jinhan successfully broke through, he consolidated it and naturally came to visit his uncle to report the good news. Not bad, not bad. The Immortal foundation is solid and stable, and the magic power is running smoothly. It seems that you have polished it before the breakthrough, and the future is promising. Li Quanqing said a few words of praise, and then took out the carefully prepared gift. It was the top grade spiritual weapon Ice Soul Spear awarded when the Cloud Snow Leopard broke through the foundation building before, which is most suitable for water spiritual root cultivators. The whole body of the Ice Soul Spear is crystal clear, as if it is carved from a whole piece of 1,000-year-old ice. The gun body has exquisite ice pattern carvings, as if it is the work of nature. The gun head flashes with a cold light, like a sharp blade on the ice field, so sharp that it seems to be able to easily tear apart any object that blocks it, and it is extremely cold. Thank you for the reward, teacher. Li Jinhan took it respectfully. Although she usually uses a flying sword, she is not a pure sword cultivator. She is also very happy about this powerful spiritual weapon. I remember that kid Li Jinlian used a gilded fire spear, and he was so fierce. Did the teacher do this on purpose? Li Jingui looked strange, but he didn't say much. He also took out the gift he had carefully prepared. It was a water lotus treasure cover for defense. It was also a fine spiritual weapon, and was most suitable for saving lives. This is the foundation building to Golden Elixir chapter of the Xian Yishan Shuju. I will pass it on to you. Practice well and don't slack off. Li Quanqing took out a jade slip, which was filled with water vapor, and engraved with Taoist marks. It looked ancient and powerful enough. This was found by him from the Xian inheritance. It can be said that it is in the same vein as the Zhenhe inheritance. It can also condense the Xian i.e. true water practice, which is enough to practice to the nascent soul realm. Now, all the new generation of water spiritual root cultivators in the entirely family practice this scripture, and the blue sea tide rising gong has long been shelved. Among all the foundation building cultivators, only Li Quanqing is left. He is still practicing the blue sea inheritance. He lives in seclusion, and is not afraid of being noticed. After imparting the scriptures, Li Quanqing proposed to send Li Jinhan and Li Jinlian to the Sihei sect to practice. First, to broaden their horizons and increase their knowledge, and second, to get closer to the Sihei sect and build a good relationship. Although Li Jinhan was stunned and a little surprised, she did not resist at all, and even had a faint sense of expectation. She was a person who could not stand being quiet. She liked to leave her family, travel around, and do justice, just like those righteous monks in the storybooks, punishing evil and eliminating evil. She was also very curious about this first sect in the East China Sea. After all, the two families can be said to have the same origin. Li Jinhan was strong-willed by nature, and loved to discuss and fight with others. She was very stubborn, and never admitted defeat on weekdays. She also wanted to know how powerful these disciples in the Yuanying sect were, and wanted to test their edge. As for Li Jinlian, there is no need to worry. He is more like an infatuated seed than his father, commonly known as a war wolf. Wherever Li Jinhun goes, he will follow. With the care of Taiyin Zhengjin and the reputation of a quasi-nascent soul family, they would not be harassed by the 4C sect, but would live a comfortable life. This matter was finalized, and as long as Li Jinhun's cultivation was stable, Li Quanqing would personally take the two of them through the undersea secret passage to the 4C sect's mountain gate. In the blink of an eye, several months had passed. On this day, Li Quanqing was sitting cross-legged on the embankment, comprehending the meaning of reincarnation, and polishing a flawless heart. Suddenly, there was a loud rumbling sound, like the collapse of the sky and the crack of the earth, and the terrible lightning burst out from the sky, sweeping across the entire Qingyu cave heaven. The spiritual energy was rolling, and the essence of the entire 4th level spiritual vein was extracted, turning into a tidal storm, surging fiercely, and drilling into that secret realm. Then a strong pressure swept out, as if the thunder god was slowly waking up. Lightning and thunder. Thunders were wandering, lightning gathered, and the light was dazzling. Influenced by this heavenly power, Li Quanqing naturally woke up and looked over. Li Quanqing succeeded in breaking through the late Jiandan realm. Over the years, he has been practicing in seclusion. He is originally a ground-grade spiritual root, and his cultivation speed is very fast. Now he has finally broken through. There are still too few Jiandan cultivators in the family. During this period, Li Quanqing, the fake Dan, has been busy. In order to avoid any accidents when Li Quanqing leaves the family, Li Quanqing also prepared to let him carry the dragon flame eagle and a 4th level spiritual treasure with him. Rumble. Above the sky, thunder is mighty, the thunder is deafening, the endless lightning is dazzling, and the dark clouds are rolling, like the power of heaven. The next moment, a purple and green giant and demon python suddenly flew out of the thunder cloud, with electric currents all over its body, as if it had turned into a special energy creature. This is the wind and thunder python that Li Quanqing raised. Its bloodline has evolved, and the scales on the surface of its body are engraved with some traces of the Great Way of Thunder. Li Quanqing specifically gave the wind and thunder python to Li Quanqing for comprehension. The other party's breakthrough is inseparable from the research on the thunder spirit bloodline. It can be regarded as a double cultivation in a sense. Every time Li Quanqing broke through the barrier, the noise was huge, attracting the attention of all the tribesmen. Li Quanqing was looking up when he suddenly heard another loud rumbling sound, which came from outside the cave and spread thousands of miles. This is Li Quanqing was flying in the air, looking out through the formation. Suddenly, he saw an extremely huge star descending between the sea and the sky, tearing through the strong wind, shaking the void, and suppressing the secret passage under the sea. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 372 Golden Elixir Perfection. Li Quanqing looked up through a layer of 5 color formations and suddenly saw a vast star descending, overwhelming the world. Obviously, this was the extraterritorial star captured by the Gengjin sect and the Sihei sect. Now it has been refined into a skyboat and has a terrifying power comparable to that of a female infant. The size of this planet is so large that he can still see it clearly even at a distance of thousands of miles. He can see the undulating mountains and gullies on it, and it is full of vitality, with waterfalls flowing and formations engraved one after another. Many buildings stand on the surface of the star, simple and majestic, with palaces in groups, turning into a towering fairy city, towering into the clouds. The arrival of this star undoubtedly means that the development of the submarine secret passage has reached a new stage, and cross-sea trade will be officially open to make huge profits. The Gengjin sect's actions are faster than I thought. Li Quanqing thought of his own skyboat, which took more than 10 years to refine successfully. In terms of volume, it is even much smaller than this Gengjin Immortal city, and the spiritual light of the formation is not as blazing. Obviously, the two unifying sects are looking forward to this immortal city and seeing it appear in the world as soon as possible. It seems I have to get busy. With the roar of thunder and the lingering lightning, Li Quanqing's figure fell from the sky, wearing a purple robe, and a strong spiritual pressure surged on his body. He also saw this star and those palaces. According to the previous agreement, the three families joined forces to sit in Gengjin Immortal City together, and each sent a giant and cultivator to sit in it all year round. There are only a few giant and cultivators in the Li family, and the only one with the right strength is Li Quanqing himself. Now that he has broken through the late giant and stage, his thunder spirit root has a strong combat power, and he is the best candidate for the development of the family. It's troublesome. Li Quanqing retracted his gaze with some emotion in his heart. Now that the Li family has embarked on a path of rapid development, it seems to be thriving, but these top family leaders are all under considerable pressure. Even if one person is injured, it will cause huge losses, and no manpower can be spared. It is the most gratifying thing for me to see the family develop day and night, and become stronger and stronger. It's nothing to be tired. Li Quanqing laughed. Since he measured the earth spirit root and embarked on the road of cultivation, he has been carrying the expectations and hopes of expanding the family. Fortunately, a more extraordinary Li Quanqing came out behind him, and now he is leading the entire family to move towards the nascent Soul Clan. The burden on Li Quanqing is not as heavy as before. With many companions, it is much easier. As they expected, after the Gengjin Immortal City was in place, the formation on the surface of the stars was opened, and the submarine secret passage was suppressed. The two nascent soul sects couldn't wait to try cross-sea trade. They had warmed up before, and revealed many rumors. Therefore, although the Immortal City has just started, and there is a lot of work to be done, it still attracted many casual cultivators and sects who wanted to try the space tunnel handed down from ancient times, which instantly spanned millions of miles and led directly to the open sea. It was also at this opportunity that Li Quanqing went on a trip and sent Li Jinan and the others to the Sahai sect, starting a new journey. Gengjin Immortal City was becoming more and more prosperous. As the host, the Li family naturally became famous and began to gradually cultivate the foundation of the Yuanying clan. However, it was not overpass for a cultivator to break through, and it took time to build up. Sometimes, forcing things to grow will backfire. Therefore, the Li family decided to adopt another strategy and gradually absorbed the masters among the casual cultivators to strengthen their own strength. The entire Gengjin Immortal City was very large, and there were naturally many casual cultivators who wanted to stay here and admired the name of the Yuanying clan. The Qingyu Li family carefully selected and recruited many guest officials with foundation building skills, most of whom were cultivators who mastered the 100 arts of cultivation. For example, alchemists, talisman painters, spiritual plant husbands, weapon refiners, etc. The Li family already has the formula for the foundation building pill, owns the Immortal City and collects rent, and has no shortage of resources, because they can produce a furnace of foundation building pill almost every 2 years. The family's power is growing day by day, and now it is like a snowball, striving to make all the 10,000 Li family cultivators have at least the late stage of key refining, trying to break through the bottleneck of foundation building. Unfortunately, the Li family now has no shortage of key refining and foundation building, but lacks the real golden elixir foundation. There is nothing everyone can do about this, as it has only arisen for 100 years, and has developed too quickly. Li Quanqing currently has no plans to recruit golden elixir cultivators as guest officials of the family. When necessary, his own third level monster beasts are enough to take over. Moreover, most of the golden elixir cultivators from the East China Sea have various inheritances, so it is easy for them to turn the tables. Time flies, and youth is fleeting. In a blink of an eye, 30 years have passed since the Gengjin Immortal City was located. For those secular mortals, this is half a life gone. But in the vast world of immortal cultivation, half a century is too short. It can only be called a snap of a finger. Qingyu Cave Heaven, Yulangtan. Accompanied by a roar of dragon, dark clouds gathered in the sky, the wind whistled, and finally turned into a heavy rain, hitting the water with a crackling sound. The clouds were as thick as ink, and a green-horned fish dragon was hovering in it, baring its teeth and claws, roaring at the sky, and making waves of dragon roars. Boom. The next moment, accompanied by a dazzling lightning, A thick sky thunder struck down, silver and white, dazzling, like a thunder sword illuminating the four directions. Giant in heavenly tribulation. Li Quanqing stood on the bank of the fish pond, watching the big monster pass the tribulation, with water vapor all over his body. Next to him, Aoking hovered his body, bathing in the heavy rain, looking particularly energetic. In the fish pond, 100,000 jade carp sank and floated, and there were more than 20 second-level fish dragons, with a demonic aura, and their blue scales were like islands, covering the entire water surface. This blue-horned fish dragon, that was undergoing the tribulation, was the Li family's former guardian spirit beast, and also Aoking's father-in-law, who had lived for 500 or 600 years. After years of feeding with the resources of the Li family, the dragon pool had refined its body, and finally its bloodline evolved, and it launched an attack on the golden elixir monster. Boom. The lightning was dazzling, and the light was blazing. The last thunderbolt struck, and it was actually surrounded by a trace of golden light, emitting a magnificent pressure like the sun. The guardian spirit was not afraid at all, and his body was high. He opened his mouth and spit out a water blue bead, like a vast ocean gathering, and a roar like the ocean came out. It was the nascent soul spirit treasure, the water spirit bead. After the dazzling light dissipated, a brand new monster emerged after the tribulation, with two horns on its head and a delicate body, as if carved from blue jade, and a strong dragon power permeated. Harvest a blue moon dragon in the early stage of the golden core, and be rewarded with a super large spiritual energy ball. Li Quanqing looked at the ball of light, and unexpectedly, he actually opened a long-lost spiritual energy ball reward. And it was a super large cup. When the clan guardian spirit fell, he did not hesitate, and crushed the light ball directly. Suddenly, a surging spiritual energy burst out, and was forcibly stuffed into his body. It was like a white jade sun rising slowly. The vastness of this spiritual energy can be said to have surpassed the top grade spiritual stone, and reached an incredible level. The infinite spiritual energy flowed, as if it was forcibly compressed together, turned into a solid state, and then burst out at this moment. The spiritual energy rolled, and roared in the meridians, as if the sky river was surging, and all was refined into pure magic power, drilled into the golden core, and turned into the foundation. At this moment, Li Quanqing even felt like he was full, and wisps of spiritual energy gushed out from the pores all over his body, and were locked into his body again. Originally, he still needed nearly 10 years of accumulation, but at this moment, it was completely replenished. Golden Elixir Great Perfection. Chapter 373 Exploring the Heavens. Spiritual energy was like a tide, coming out from all parts of Li Quanqing's body, like a mist, and the whole person's figure was covered, looming. When other cultivators broke through the realm, they all asked for it from the outside world, refined the essence of heaven and earth for their own use, and strengthened their magic power. Li Quanqing was different. The super large spiritual energy group was floating in his body, like a white jade sun, releasing an extremely amazing spiritual energy, turning into a rushing river. This abundant spiritual energy content was like a small spiritual vein of heaven and earth, which was directly forced into the danshan by someone, and the whole body felt full. Li Quanqing closed his eyes and sat cross-legged. The pressure around him was diffused, and rising step by step. The surface of his skin was glowing, and the glow was dense and majestic like a god. The Cheyenne Sutra was automatically running. It was worthy of being the inheritance of the skills left by the immortals. It refined this huge spiritual energy in an orderly manner. In the danshan, the golden elixir was spinning, and the color was deep, like an endless ocean. In the deepest part of the big elixir, the third ray of infant energy was slowly nurtured. Tao gave birth to 1, 1 gave birth to 2, 2 gave birth to 3, 3 gave birth to all things. 3 strands of nascent soul ki are already the limit of a Gengjin cultivator, representing the great perfection of the Gengjin realm, flawless. Li Quanqing exhaled a breath of turbid air from his chest, and the pressure around him spread out, winding for hundreds of miles, pressing the entire Yulong into silence, and all things surrendered. Even the Gengjin monsters of his own family were the same. The gap was too big. It can be said that they already had some of the power of nascent soul cultivators. Lucky, a ball of spiritual energy saved me more than 10 years of hard practice. Li Quanqing opened his eyes, and the divine light in his pupils bloomed. The color was azure, the light was blazing, like a whole sea brewing, with turbulent waves. According to his original practice speed, it would take some time to practice before he could completely polish it to perfection. But now he is very lucky. A ball of light reward directly opened the cheat, unreasonable, and completely pushed his magic power to the point where there is no more room for improvement. I have already polished the 3 levels of the nascent soul and the level of mana to perfection, and even bred 3 strands of nascent soul key. It will not be a problem to break the pill and become a nascent soul in the future. The remaining tribulations of heaven and the inner demons are also not a big problem. It can be said that there is a 99% chance of success. The path of the nascent soul has been completed. Li Quanqing silently calculated in his heart, without too much pressure, and even with a bit of ease and full of confidence. He was not ready to break through now, because time was too tight. It would take several months to adjust, cultivate his body and mind, and polish his state to the best. Li Quanqing looked at the 3rd strand of nascent soul key and silently performed the treasure light golden armor technique, which was the only secret technique he could use this nascent soul power. He thought for a moment, and finally chose the Whale King holy armor, absorbing the mist of precious energy in it, and turned it into a golden copper coin with a surface pattern that resembled a cloud whale flying. He had previously used 2 strands of nascent soul key to condense the demon dragon coin armor and the void coin armor, which had powerful attack power and the power of short-term void shuttle respectively. Now that the Whale King coin armor has taken shape, it can temporarily increase the mana level of the golden core, playing a similar role to the burning life pill, but without such serious sequelae. Li Quanqing retracted his gaze and didn't care. He didn't leave the Qinggai cave heaven now, and he almost never fought with other cultivators. Qingchen Immortal City has been located for 30 years, and its reputation has attracted many cultivators to flock to it. Naturally, there have been several golden core cultivators making trouble, including many evil cultivators. But in the end, all of them were suppressed by Li Kunlun and his men, and they couldn't make any waves at all. Li Quanqing didn't have the opportunity to make a move at all. After all, the Yuanying cultivators in the East China Sea are too rare. For the sake of the 2 major sects, they will not lower their status and have conflicts of interest with a group of juniors. What's more, in just 30 years, the Yuanying Zenjin's retreat is even longer than this. He has been entrenched in his old nest all year round, a complete dead house. In the following time, Li Quanqing cultivated his body and mind, and no longer meditated and practiced. After all, his mana has been unable to improve. Every day, he walked around Yulangtan, caressed the spirit fish, fed the fish bait, walked on the waves, and silently felt the true meaning of the great Dao of water. Or he used the power of the Samsara pearl to reincarnate for 100 generations, and polished his Dao heart with the power of illusion. After these years of consumption, the power of the Samsara pearl has also weakened a lot, and the color has become lighter and lighter. It is about to consume all the true meaning of reincarnation and dissipate between heaven and earth. Li Quanqing did not regret it. When he broke through the nascent soul and the blue sea bloodline was further revived, he would get a truly complete reincarnation inheritance and control life and death. The nascent soul notebook that Ao King rewarded when he broke through the middle stage of the golden core was also taken out by him to read again. At this time, looking back at the enlightenment, it really has new gains. It is always new to look at it. I only feel that a series of mysterious Dao rhymes surge into my heart, and countless thoughts collide in my mind. In this way, comprehending the world, the Tao follows nature. Li Quanqing's body, the originally extremely powerful aura slowly converged, and finally became calm, and the pressure dissipated completely. If an ordinary cultivator looked at it, he would think he saw a mortal. Although he had an extraordinary demeanor, he did not have any mana fluctuations. He was ordinary and unremarkable. But if he carefully observed it with his spiritual consciousness, he could sense the depth and terror contained in that ordinariness. It was like a calm sea on the surface, but in the depths it was turbulent and undercurrents were surging. It was completely unfathomable. The abyss was endless and deep, enough to swallow everything. On this day, Li Quanqing was lying leisurely on the bank of the fish pond, reading a travelogue of a cultivator in his hand. Suddenly, a jade pendant in the Qianqun bracelet hummed softly, making bursts of sound, and the light flickered. This was a communication item, and it was very advanced. It was left by Zhao Qian, a cultivator of the Changsheng Dao, and it was enough to cross the long distance between the East China Sea and the Zhongshan continent. Li Quanqing was a little curious. Why did this guy contact him suddenly? A ray of magic power bloomed from his fingertips and fell into the jade pendant. The next moment, the light was blazing, interweaving Zhao Qian's figure, lifelike. When Li Quanqing saw him, he was a little surprised. These Zhao brothers, who had a deep connection with him, looked quite tired at this time, and even a little embarrassed, as if they were quite exhausted. Zhao Qian, on the contrary, didn't care. He sat cross-legged in the void, and looked at him, then smiled. Congratulations to fellow Daoist Quanqing, you have successfully survived the human calamity, and now your golden elixir is full and flawless. You are about to embark on the path of Yuanying, and there is hope for immortality. Thank you for your concern, Senior Zhao. The battle was really difficult at the beginning. If I hadn't kept a backup plan, I'm afraid I would have fallen into the hands of the Blood River Patriarch. Li Quanqing's words were half true and half false, and at the same time he was very curious. According to the power and ability of the Changsheng Dao, he should have known that he had killed the Blood River Patriarch. Why did the other party look like he had just received the news? Chapter 374 Just Waiting for Ascension. Zhao Qian saw the inquiry in Li Quanqing's eyes, and did not hide it, but spoke frankly. I believe that fellow Daoist Quanqing has also seen that I'm now very exhausted. Even the body of the spirit of the instrument can't bear it. The cause and effect is just a journey of retreat for decades to explore the heavens. Li Quanqing was shocked when he heard Zhao Qian's words. Explore the heavens. It is normal for a Yuanying cultivator to spend decades in retreat. After all, with a lifespan of thousands of years, plus many secret methods to prolong life, natural materials and treasures, and breakthroughs in cultivation, it is enough to live for 1,200 years and overlook the changes in the world. What's more, Zhao Qian is now spirit of the instrument, and he has embarked on the road of longevity. It is not a problem to live for hundreds of thousands of years. Spending 30 or 40 years to practice is really nothing. What surprised Li Quanqing was that the other party actually left the world of cultivation, where he was now, explored outside, and even returned safely. What a bizarre and wonderful scene that would be. Zhao Qian saw what he was thinking and smiled slightly. Fellow Daoist Quanqing, don't be surprised. Exploring the heavens and myriad worlds has always been the long-term plan of our Changsheng Immortal dynasty. Every Changsheng Dao cultivator who has set foot on the road of longevity and possesses the combat power of Yuanying's engine is like this. They will be responsible for exploring an outer world independently. Don't think that the other party said it so lightly. What is contained in it is the hard work of countless predecessors of Changsheng Dao. Moreover, with Zhao Qian's strength, it is enough to rival the late Yuanying, or even the Great Perfection realm, but now he is in such a mess. It can be seen that exploring the outer world is not an easy task. On the contrary, it consumes a lot of energy, and sometimes even returns empty-handed. After all, every world of the heavens, whether strong or weak, has its own heavenly guardian, which can also be called the consciousness or instinct of the world. When foreign creatures descend into it, whether they have malicious intentions or not, they will be naturally suppressed by the world itself. Li Quanqing's eyes flickered, and after a few breaths, he regained his composure, with only a little curiosity left. How was the expedition this time, Senior Zhao? Did you successfully harvest a world? I wonder if there are any living creatures or even human beings in it. The harvest is not small. Zhao Qian smiled, and spoke about this experience. He said a few words, which immediately opened people's eyes. This is also one of the purposes of the longevity path, using the wonderfulness of the heavens and the worlds to attract other Yuanying cultivators to join. Exploring the heavens is extremely dangerous. If you are not careful, your physical body may be damaged, and only the Yuanying will remain. If you want to continue the journey of the great Dao, you can only return to the embrace of the longevity path in the end, and your true spirit will be entrusted to the spiritual treasure. This is an upright conspiracy. Li Quanqing listened to the other party's story quietly, and suddenly felt a sense of eye-opening. According to Zhao Qian, the world he explored and conquered this time was also a world where he could practice. but the living creatures in it were not human beings, but a kind of intelligent creatures with long hair all over their bodies, similar to wolfhounds, and walking upright. It also developed traces of civilization and cultivation, and it can be regarded as a relatively prosperous small world. The Changsheng Dao called them the Quanran tribe. They have been found in other worlds, and can be said to be one of the more common alien races. The world that Zhao Kan explored was not very big. The strongest of the Quanran tribe was only at the Jindan realm. Unfortunately, the heavenly way of this world was threatened, and several children of destiny were born, allowing them to exert combat power comparable to that of Yuan Ying. It was quite a headache. Fortunately, Zhao Kan's strength was not exaggerated. With the top-grade spiritual treasure 5-element ring in hand, he was unpredictable. In the end, he forcibly resisted the suppression of the world, and killed these Quanran tribesmen with Yuan Ying combat power, successfully split off a piece of spiritual land, and led the immortal monks to take root in it. Unfortunately, although we have enslaved a group of the Quanran tribe, and occupied many spiritual veins and mountains, it is extremely difficult to harvest the origin of the world. What's more, the heavenly way of this Quanran world has not been damaged. Now there are signs of recovery, and many sons of destiny have been born again, wanting to make a final counterattack. Zhao Kan's words were not without emotion, but he was not depressed. Instead, he was eager to try, and liked this challenging thing. For the Changsheng Immortal Dynasty, conquest is not the goal. What they want to do is to harvest the origin of the world and use it to repair the broken heaven and earth avenue of this immortal world. In the end, the whole dynasty ascends to heaven. This is the spirit of the immortal cultivator. Li Quanqing was a little dazzled when he heard it. This journey of exploring the heavens is really wonderful and far beyond the imagination of ordinary people. Zhao Kan saw his intention, and said with a little bewitching, "Wait until fellow Daoist Quanqing breaks through the nascent soul. I will take you to this world to see it. How about it? Let's talk about it later." Li Quanqing suppressed the impulse in his heart, and regained some rationality again. He has practiced till now, and even if he wanted to explore the ruins, he had only tried it a few times, not to mention leaving the world of immortal cultivation, and exploring the heavens. The danger is too great, so he should stay in the family, and accumulate some trump cards first. Seeing this, Zhao Kan smiled slightly, and did not say more. Now that the laws of heaven and earth are incomplete, it is difficult to break through the transformation of the gods. The group of Yuan Ying cultivators will be hooked sooner or later, so there is no need to rush. As far as he knows, even in the East China Sea, there are also Yuan Ying cultivators who are unwilling to sit and die, secretly trying to transform themselves into instrument spirits in an attempt to achieve immortality. The trend of the longevity path sweeping the world of immortal cultivation in the 5 domains cannot be stopped by anyone. Now that the situation in this world is stable and the war has come to an end, I have returned because of this, and that's why I learned that my friend killed the ancestor of the blood river. Zhao Kan looks slightly serious. After all, the Li family is a golden elixir family, with a shallow foundation, and lacking many experiences in forming infants. Fortunately, there are many records in this aspect of the immortal dynasty, so I will tell you one by one. Li Quanqing couldn't help but feel a little moved when he heard this. This senior brother Zhao is really a good person. He really has high expectations for him. He came to miss him in person, just after returning from the battle. In fact, the cultivators in the immortal way can be called a group of idealists. Unlike other sects, they cherish their own things. Instead, they are happy to see the younger generation of cultivators grow stronger. Everyone works together to strengthen this world and repair the world. In the end, they ascend to the fairyland together and see immortality. Across an infinite distance, Li Quanqing and Zhao Kan began to discuss the Tao. Most of the time, it was the latter who talked, and taught the experience of forming a baby. Li Quanqing listened very seriously. Although he had the Yuan Ying handbook, he was exploring alone after all. Wealth, companions, law, and land. Companion means fellow Taoist. Its importance is second only to the various precious resources in the world of immortal cultivation. It shows the importance of discussing the Tao with other cultivators. This sermon lasted for 2 months. In the end, it was the communication jade pendant that could not bear it first. With a click, it was covered with cracks, and the spiritual light was dim, and it was about to be completely broken. I only hope that fellow Daoist Quanqing will finally break the shackles of the golden elixir, open up the nascent soul, and have a smooth road without obstacles. From now on, the road to immortality will be evergreen, protecting our human race, and the fortune will prosper forever. Finally, accompanied by a congratulatory message, Zhao Qian's figure slowly dispersed between heaven and earth and disappeared. Protect our human race. Li Quanqing chewed on these 4 words, and couldn't help but smile bitterly. These immortality cultivators really have great ambitions. Now, everything is ready, just waiting to ascend to heaven. Li Quanqing sat cross-legged on the embankment, looking at the calm water of the pond, his robe swaying in the wind. The whole person seemed to be integrated with heaven and earth, following the way of nature. It was exactly 1 year since he broke through the golden elixir state. Chapter 375, Nascent Soul Tribulation. With a snap, accompanied by a crisp sound, the reincarnation bead in Li Quanqing's hand was completely shattered, and the last ray of true meaning dissipated, trying to turn into an illusion, trying to pull the cultivator in front of him into it. Unfortunately, from beginning to end, Li Quanqing's eyes were always clear and clear, without any confusion. These illusions that were once enough to make him lose himself, now only need one glance to easily break through, and it can even be said that he was indifferent. The heart of the 100 tribulations, it's done. Li Quanqing's emotions were neither sad nor happy, only a faint thought emerged, as if he was transcending the mundane world and forgetting himself. It's time to form a baby. Li Quanqing retracted his palm, and reviewed the nearly 150 years of practice. He had done all the preparations he could do to the extreme. The only thing left to do was one word: breakthrough! Exclamation mark. If you can break through, the world will be vast. If you can't break through, that is absolutely impossible. Li Quanqing flattered himself that he had reached the extreme of a giant and cultivator. All aspects of things have been considered, and there are so many trump cards that it's scary. Even if it is a son of a spirit, when he breaks the pill and becomes an infant, it is estimated that this is the only treatment he will receive. There is really no possibility of failure, even if it is a pig. Ahem, this is needless to say. If he really fails, wouldn't it be a slap in the face? Li Quanqing stood up and walked towards the Wanyu pond, ready to inform the old patriarch in the state of a spirit about this. It is not a trivial matter for him to break through the nascent soul. It is necessary to draw the power of the entire 4th order spiritual vein, which will affect the closed-door practice of the clan members, so it is necessary to deploy in advance. In addition, the family defense also needs to be done to the extreme, and the 5-element lotus array should be fully opened to avoid interference from nascent soul cultivators at the last moment. This is not only his breakthrough, but also related to the rise of the entire Qingyu Li family. The old patriarch Li Zhangao was not surprised by his arrival, or he had been prepared, and had been looking forward to this day. He even proposed to recall Li Kunlun from Qingchen Xiancheng. After all, he is the only late giant and cultivator in the Li family, and has strong combat power. Li Quanqing refused. Li Kunlun is now in charge of the Immortal City. He has daily dealings with the 2 Yuanying sects. If he returns at this time, it is easy for people to guess what he is doing. As for the family's protective power, with his 6 golden elixir monsters, plus the old patriarch, Li Kunli and the clan guardian spirit, with the addition of the ice phoenix puppet, the 4th level formation is controlled to resist all enemies at the same time, which is enough to support him until he successfully overcomes the tribulation. Whether Li Kunlun comes back or not, the effect is the same. 3 days later, the Li family began to impose martial law, loose outside and tight inside. The entire Qingyu cave heaven was quietly sealed, and only entry was allowed but not exit. All the clan members who were in seclusion were awakened. The Yuanying tribulation affected the changes in the spiritual veins of heaven and earth, and the arrival of the inner demon made it easy for these low-level cultivators to go astray. The entire Yulangtan began to turn into a forbidden area, and no clan members were allowed to approach. The formation was intertwined and blocked. Even the Qingyu carp and spirit fish in the pond were transferred to the Wanyu pond to avoid being affected. 10 days passed, and the world was quiet, and the storm was about to come. Li Quanqing was alone, sitting cross-legged on the empty pond. The water waves surged and turned into a lotus to hold up his body. Treasures emerged one after another in front of him, with 1,000 rays of light and aura. Each one was enough to drive those Chindan monks crazy. The Holy Infant Pill, the 5 Thunder Mirror Umbrella, the Whale King Holy Armor, the Cold Feather Bell, the Demon Dragon Halberd. Li Quanqing looked at these treasures with full confidence. If he fails, it will be unforgivable. The next moment, Li Quanqing no longer suppressed the fluctuations of his own mana. The Cheyenne mana roared, erupting like a volcano, and the mana around him surged like a raging wave, rushing into the deepest part of the sky, stirring up the wind and clouds. In the Danshan, the golden elixir as deep as the sea shone brightly, as if to illuminate his body, and the infant key entangled, as if to turn into a divine object, to break out of the elixir. Boom! Exclamation mark. Under the traction of the key, in just a moment, the sky suddenly darkened, and rolling dark clouds rolled in like black waves, instantly covering the entire cave. Silver white arcs raged in the clouds, making a deafening roar, and faintly golden lightning appeared. Boom. Without a moment's respite, the first thunderbolt came down with the momentum of destroying the world, and the power of heaven swept across. Li Quanqing's eyes flashed with a gleam of brilliance, and the magic formula in his hand suddenly moved. The 5 Thunder Miluo umbrella automatically opened above his head, turning into a 5-color light curtain that swept across the sky. The thunder hit the treasure umbrella, bursting out a dazzling light. Countless arcs exploded, wandering on the umbrella surface, and then were absorbed by the thunder patterns. The huge impact force made Li Quanqing's body tremble, and a large part of his mana was consumed. Then, the second and third thunderbolts followed one after another, with faster and faster frequency and stronger power, and dazzling lightning flashed endlessly between heaven and earth. Li Quanqing stood under the treasure umbrella, still calm and composed. It was indeed a secret treasure for overcoming the tribulation. Its power was truly amazing. He even had the idea to extract the power of these heavenly thunders, to temper the Hanhei bowl in his hand, and transform it into a 4th level spiritual treasure. The 12th. Li Quanqing raised his head and watched the black tribulation clouds boiling, the sound rolling. The might of the sky was mighty, and there was actually a moment of respite. There are a total of 4936 Yuanying thunder tribulations. Every time you pass through 12 heavenly thunders, the power will reach a new level. Sure enough, in the next moment, the tribulation cloud swallowed and spit out, and suddenly a golden and silver thunderlight column fell, as thick as a mountain, like the arrival of magic sword. It was incomparable with the power of the previous heavenly thunder. Li Quanqing's face was solemn, and suddenly, his palms pressed against the umbrella ribs, and the Cheyenne mana was no longer reserved, and all poured into it. Rumble. The 5 Thunder Mirror umbrella collided with the golden and silver lightning pillars, bursting out an extremely dazzling light, and thick thunder raged across the sky. The 5-color light curtains wept. The runes were like the sea, like clouds and mist, showing the mystery of the 5 element, swallowing up the thunder of the sky. Why do I feel my thunder tribulation is much stronger than Zhao Qian's? Is it because I use the secret treasure? The 24th thunder fell, and Li Quanqing's palm holding the treasure umbrella trembled a little, and a stream of blood actually flowed from the corner of his mouth, looking a little embarrassed. These golden and silver thunders are too powerful. If an ordinary Chindan cultivator is hit by one, his bones will be broken, and his body will be seriously injured. The power is unexpectedly strong. According to some ancient books, the heavenly tribulation comes to test the cultivation of the immortals themselves. Using external objects to survive the tribulation is indeed suspected of cheating. The heavenly way is sensitive, and the intensity of the thunder tribulation is often increased to show the fairness of all spirits. Li Quanqing glanced at the mirror umbrella. The lightning on the umbrella was blazing, and all the runes were lit up, like a round of 5-colored shining sun flashing. Boom! Exclamation mark. The 25th thunder came, and the power increased again, turning into pure golden thunder, like the sword of the sky. The golden thunder shone, as if all the power in the universe was condensed in an instant, and all the light between heaven and earth was eclipsed. The power of this thunder alone was enough to kill the giant and Aquan monk in an instant, without any resistance. This is not leaving a way for people to survive. Li Quanqing's hair was flying, his robes were fluttering, and his eyes suddenly became firm. He stopped defending and soared into the sky, facing the power of heaven, and crashed straight into this golden thunder. At the same time, the mirror umbrella in his hand shone brightly, and 5 colored lightning burst out from the umbrella, pouring out all the power of the thunder tribulation that had been swallowed before. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.